Hello and welcome everyone to the documentary. Yeah, there's going to be a different series to what we're used to here, at least on my channel. We're going to be doing a save with Athletic Club, known as Athletic Bilbao to a lot of people too. Now, this is going to work slightly differently to everything I've ever done on the channel. What this is going to be a retrospective look at things that have happened mostly. It's going to be a documentary. As you can see from the date on the game here, I've actually already finished the first season as of recording this first part of the series. So how this all came about, I was doing a save with Bilbao, and my intention was to always do a piece of content on this season, on this series. I just wasn't quite sure whether this was going to be in video format, or maybe I just put a few posts up on X and did like a blog style review of what had happened in the series, because playing as Athletic Club is obviously a challenge more than any other team, I guess, really in FM, at least in any of the top leagues, because you are, restricted to only Basque players. And I think that it's always a save and a challenge that I think, interests people, but everybody's got busy day-to-day lives where they look at the challenge and they think that it's something I'd love to do, but just not right now. And then you never sort of get round to it. I think a lot of people seem to express that sort of sentiment when it comes to Bilbao, but they would love to do it. It's just like, if you've only got so much time in your life to play, games and play FM, playing as Bilbao is quite a difficult team to go and play as. It depends on what you think is successful, I guess. It can be difficult or easy depending on where you're setting the bar. Obviously, for me, being able to win the Spanish League and winning the Champions League is something that obviously I want to be able to do. So yeah, anyway, I was doing the save, and I knew I was always going to be doing a piece of content on it eventually. And I just thought, though, that I didn't have time to do it like a normal series, like play up to a certain point, record the episode with me, like live, so with me, and then do it as we go. I did not have time to do like a Let's Play series, but I thought, okay, I'll play what I think I can do, like doing it, quote, off of camera, as it were, at times, and then we'll see where we get to, and then we can do like a retrospective look at the end of the season, maybe at certain parts of the season, and I can just sort of give you the update of my thoughts of like why I'm doing certain things, what I'm looking for, what's happened, etc. And I've got to a point now where I've been, doing little recordings, doing little bits as I've been playing through the series, and I've got to a stage now where the story that's been written in this save has been absolutely amazing. It's been so good. I've had so much fun playing it, and I sort of want to share it with people. And I think people find it interesting because I haven't had it all my own way. There's been some very good ups and some frustrating downs, and I think that, it's one thing, I think it's, relatable to see somebody else go through the struggles. But I think what's good is, like, when I've gone through difficult periods within this series so far, how I've come up the other side, being able to talk about that, show you what had been happening, and just go through the story together, like a documentary. That's how I'm looking at, like a documentary. Each season we can sort of look back. Some of the stuff will be sort of like in time or recently after the fact. It won't all be completely a season look back through. But that's generally how I'm going to try and present the series and do it that way. I'm not going to insult everybody's intelligence because I'm assuming most people do know the story. But I'm going to give a quick, just really, really quick background to who Athletic Club are, the team we're playing as, and what the sort of story is here. So Athletic Club are a football club in Spain. Very crucially, their name is Athletic Club or Athletic Bilbao. You can use, but never Atletico. So Athletic Bilbao, what the club's become famous for is having a Basque-only policy to players. So we can only use players from the Basque country in Spain. So not even just Spanish, they have to be specifically Basque. So that makes the save incredibly difficult. It's essentially like a youth-only challenge, with the caveat that we can sign Basque players from other teams. But, largely we'll be using our own academy. It'll be largely our own academy, maybe signing some youngsters and developing them through. It's very, very rare. I think as the seasons go on, we're going to buy players, established first-team players from other teams. It might happen a little bit in the first year or two because there are some good Basque players at other teams, but eventually it's going to be essentially a youth-only save with the one caveat that we can buy players that are Basque from other teams, and then we'll probably develop them through our own academy. That's essentially how it's going to work. Now, in FM, you can sign players up to a certain age who are just Spanish. Like, they don't have to be Basque, they can be Spanish. Then eventually they get the Basque nationality. I haven't done that in this series at all, in this save. I've only signed players that in the game have Basque nationality. at least partially. I haven't signed any players through that system. Anybody that's familiar playing as Bilbao and FM, I think, has spoken about that. You probably have come across that. But yeah, I've only signed players that have definitely got Basque nationality. And I'll show you quickly here. If you go to your scouting page here, this is what you can see. If you have it ticked to not show unrealistic players, it will only show you Basque players that will come to your club. Now, obviously, there are some Basque players that are in the game that just aren't interested in your club. So you can then go nationality, partially Basque, making it nice and easy for you, and then untick that, and you get the other players that aren't quite interested in you just yet, but might come to you in the future. So we're restricted to only Basque players throughout the entire save here. Now that obviously makes it very, very difficult. You're restricted to only Basque players, and playing in a league that has both Real Madrid and Barcelona within it is going to make things very, very difficult. But that is our policy. That is the club's policy on players. What definition makes somebody Basque? In terms of like real life, if you want to go read about it, I'll put a link in the description below so you can go and search upon that. In FM, it's really easy. If they've got it, for us, if they've got it set to Basque nationality, we're going to go with it. And if they don't, we aren't. I'm not going to try and look up and make sure everything is like correct from a data perspective. I'm going to make sure, I'm just going to assume that everything in the game is correct. If they've got Basque, I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to play it as the game's been presented to me. So that's what we're going to go with. This policy does not apply to staff, incidentally, which is obviously how we are the manager at the football club, and how Marcelo Bielsa obviously recently was the manager of Athletic Bilbao 2, Athletic Club. So the policy does not apply to coaching staff and managers. Now, in terms of staff, what I've decided to do is that trying to get Basque staff is quite difficult, but at the very least capped it at Spanish. So I will only hire Spanish coaching staff, and they will have to fit into our DNA. I've got a very set structure of how the team is going to play and how we're going to build a culture within the club. I'll speak about that a bit later, but yeah, basically Spanish-only staff as well, and they're going to have certain criteria to get into the club as a member of staff. In terms of like playing style, how we're going to play, game model, and that type of thing, we're going to be recreating Marcelo Bielsa. We're going to recreate Marcelo Bielsa's playing philosophy. I can't guarantee the game model, like the formation and the roles and the duties within the game, are going to be exactly the same as one of his teams, because ultimately, because it's a Basque-only save, we are beholden to who the game gives us, you know? When the new gen players start coming through, if there's, you know, I don't know, 4 or 5 top level strikers, but they aren't really wingers, we may have to go and play a two-striker formation. If we happen to get 0 strikers, maybe we look to play like a false 9 with loads of midfield players and create a formation around that. We're going to have to be very, very clever and creative about how we apply the formation based on the players that the game gives us when it comes to new gen Basque players. There are some obviously players that we know in advance from the real world today that we know we can buy, we know we can fit into the team. But when it gets to beyond that and it gets, 5 years in, 10 years in, we really need to make sure that we've actually got the players to play the tactic we're using. I think a lot of us could fall into the trap of like, we have our preferred tactic, whatever it is, and we're just going to force players in. And I think that if you're a normal team, once you get to a certain level and you have money flowing in, you can buy whoever you want. You can probably make that happen to some form. It might hold you back for some years, but eventually you'll get there because you can buy good enough players to make your tactic work if it's a at least half decently designed tactic. For us, though, we can't do that. We're going to be capped at the level of the players that we're given and in the positions that they're given. I hope to God it doesn't just give us a load of players in the same position. That would be the worst thing. You want to hope that it gets balanced out at some point. And don't forget, while we are struggling with that whole conundrum the entire time, we're going to be completely challenged at the same time. We're going to have our own problems, our own issues to deal with, and then we're being challenged by the teams with the biggest pool for players, eventually the most money, biggest wage budgets, that kind of stuff. And some of the biggest wage budgets, maybe not the biggest, but they'll be up there, of course. So yeah, it's a very layered challenge. There's just layers all the way through this. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how we get on all the way through. Yeah, and I just thought you might enjoy the challenge and the story that we go through here with Athletic Club and what I've been able to do and what I've not been able to do, which is going to, believe me, that is going to be a big part of this story too. Okay, so targets and objectives for the save. It's pretty simple. The first objective is we want to win the Spanish League. Very, very simple. However long that takes, that is the first objective. We want to make sure we can win the Spanish League at some stage here in the save. That's the first objective. The second objective is to win the Champions League with the team, which could be very, very difficult because I have no idea if we're going to have a team that's good enough to actually do that. But that is the objective, is to try and win the Champions League with the team. And the save, for me, I won't stop playing the save until that happens. That is the main objective. Even if it gets to a stage where I have to play off camera after this series concludes with us not winning it, eventually I will make sure I win that, because it's something that I'm so invested into this team and what this club has managed to do. That is what the objective is going to be. We're going to try and win the Champions League. And the third objective that ties into those two, though, is I want us to do it by being financially sustainable. So there will be some Basque players that play for our rival teams. Now, that's the one problem, is that the other AI teams that have Basque players and that generate Basque players, a lot of those teams are our rivals. So for us to get players off them is difficult. Some of those players, when they're young, don't want to come to us because we're a rival. And those clubs then don't want to sell their players to you unless you activate the release clause, because they don't want to negotiate with you, which means you've got to pay a premium price for your Basque players from your rivals who don't want to sell them to you anyway. And the players don't want to go to you anyway until you get a big enough reputation gap between you and them, and then eventually you can probably get the players away. But that's another thing. But not falling into the trap of like just, buying players that are Basque and running the club financially into the ground. We still need to do what we're doing sustainably. We want to be a sustainable football club in the Marcelo Bielsa sort of philosophy in terms of our playing style, and the DNA of our coaching staff matching that at least to a point, and focusing our young players, trying to develop the same type of players through if we can, at least in terms of the psychological profiles, because obviously players are going to have different attributes in different positions, but we want to try and get the same kind of characters through if we can. And I guess that leads me into how the staff are going to work. I'm going to go through, first of all, what I did with the coaching staff my first season, how I set the club up. And a lot of the moves we made in our first season wasn't for this season. It was going to be for the future 4 or 5 years that are going to come up in terms of youth intakes, having the players with the right personalities if we can, and trying to get just those right characters through the academy, and trying to put ourselves in the best place possible to get those good young players in our first few intakes, because it won't be very long before I need my homegrown academy players to go into the first team. It's going to be a very difficult balance to strike of like when to introduce them into the team. And that's another conversation altogether. On one final objective, in addition to winning the Spanish League, winning the Champions League, while keeping the club financially sustainable, the fourth and final objective is we do it without abandoning our playing philosophy. Now, that doesn't mean formation, but what that means is that I'm going to have a set way of playing at the start. We're not going to abandon that to try and get results. We will do it in our style, or we will die trying. But there is no negotiation on our playing style, our principles. Formation, game model, yes, those things can change a little bit, but the playing philosophy, the team instructions essentially, and the style in which we want to play, that isn't going to change, especially out of possession. The Marcelo Bielsa press will be enabled at all times. Okay, so welcome to our staff, intake of the first season. These are the staff members that I brought in. Some of them you might recognize if you've played in Spain before, or you've been in Europe and you've hired these people before, and some you may not. So how did I approach getting the staff in? Now, in terms of the first team, it's quite boring, really. I literally am looking at, they have to be Spanish, don't forget. They have to be Spanish, which did not make things easy at times, but they have to be Spanish. And really, I'm just looking at trying to get one coach for every category, right? So looking at this, I'm trying to get just one coach at least in a category. So I'll need 2 defensive coaches, one that does defending tactical, but that's me, so I can take care of that, that's fine. So I just need a defensive coach who does technical. I need 2 attacking coaches, one that's attacking and tactical, one that's attacking and technical. And basically, if I can try and get, for most attributes, it's like, if I can get 16 attacking and at least 11 technical, that's good enough for a starting point for us. We want to try and get better coaches in that long term, but that's ideal. What's this guy got? So he's got 15 and 16. Yeah, as long as one of them tends to be over 15 or above, for me this season that was enough, because there was no Spanish coaches to get, really. It was quite difficult to do, but that's generally what I was going for. Trying to get both over 15 is the most ideal thing. Getting double 16s or a 17 and a 16, that's the best thing, but that isn't what I could always get. But that's generally how I approached it. So one coach per category, but by category I don't just mean defending, I mean one for defending tactical, one for defending technical. The only difference to that is fitness coaches. Ideally, I like to have 3 on strength, 3 on quickness, and but we couldn't quite get that this season. But future seasons we will try to do that. But that's how I approached it. Now, youth coaches, I only really look at 3 things. So this is going to be like our DNA for all of our young players that come through our academy that like are going to be new gens going forwards. We want 3 things. For youth coaches, they need to have determination above 16, really. Determination for me is the most important thing. And again, this is just how I do it. I'm not saying this is the absolute best way. This is just the way that I choose to do it. And I've chosen to do it for this particular save. This is just how I do it. Doesn't mean it's the best way. This is just how I have done it. So all the results that you see from my players being developed over time. And the reason I wanted to make this clear was just so you can see what I've done, and you'll see the results that we get in later years, and you can determine whether it was good, bad, indifferent. Just showing you what I've done anyway. But so determination's the first thing. That needs to be really above 17, ideally. And the only other 2 things that I'm really looking at, working with youngsters, 15 minimum ideally, and then the personality of the coach. So ideally, I'm going to be looking for model citizens, model professional, unprofessional, fairly professional. If none of those, perfectionist might be good. Outside of that, if I can't find anybody with any of those personality traits, like this guy obviously here, Ivan Roldan, a new gen coach, he doesn't have any of those personalities. The next best thing then is just to make sure they've got determination, working with the youngsters minimum 15, and then just make sure I pick a personality that isn't terrible. That's basically the layers. If he could have 20 determination, 20 working with youngsters, model citizen, that is the golden ticket youth coach that we're looking for. And then at least this season, I don't care at all about the actual coaching attributes for this season. Ideally, I'd like to set them up similar to the first team, obviously but focusing on these things first. It'd be nice to have a youth coach that actually is good at, defending, one that's good at attacking, etc. But I can't stress how hard it was to find youth coaches. So I know he doesn't look great, but he's got the minimums, and it was really difficult to find somebody who had the minimums plus actually having good coaching attributes that wanted to come to us anyway, and that were Spanish. So if I didn't restrict myself to Spanish coaches, this would have been a lot easier, and it would have made things probably more successful for us. But we are where we are. I made those decisions at the start. That's what we were going to do to stick to it, and we have, to be fair. So yeah, there we are. Ivan Roldan was the first guy to come in. He comes in as the under-19s manager, and he was going to lead us for the first year or so. I'm not going to go through every single member of staff, but like this is a good example of a first team coach. I picked him really on the attributes. Now, I did say I only look at the attributes. Obviously, I still try to stick to the personality, I guess, hierarchy if I can. So if I can get a good coach with some good attributes that also is model citizen, that's the preference. And then going down the scale like I did a second ago. But the important thing really is the attributes. But it would be nice to have this as well. And determination, again, would be nice to have, but it's not absolutely ideal for me in the first team. It's more about the youth players that need that, and the same thing for the personality too. But yeah, ideally, if we can replicate that again for the first team coaches, that would be the most preferable option. But we are very, very restricted to who we can bring in as a coach, being only Spanish and not being the best team in Spain right now. Makes it very, very difficult to just pick and choose these absolutely perfect coaches that don't really exist for us. But he was about as close as we could get. Was Ramirez here, came in as a first team coach, got a good fitness coach in there. Yeah, I mean, who was the other one that I looked at? Asier Martinez, fairly professional, determination's on 11, but motivating is good. So that for my assistant manager, the only thing I really look at for my assistant manager is I hope that he can coach at least one category himself. That would be nice if he could do that. But then the next thing really is motivating. I tend to just let my assistant manager take the first team talk of the game, especially when I'm doing content stuff. So it just gives them like a different role to do, really. So yeah, and if they've got good motivating, that's always a good thing to have. My current assistant is John Aspiazu. He's been at Athletic Club quite a few times in his career, both as a player and as a coach, and assistant manager. So he's been here before. He's been in there, done it, got the t-shirt. He's been here for a long time. I just thought I'd keep him because he's actually a pretty good coach overall. He actually speaks English, so if we're talking about some sort of realism, if I walked into Athletic Club and their assistant manager there has been at the club for many, many years, he knows everything about the club, and he already speaks English and Spanish and Basque. I mean, that's about as perfect as you could get. So I thought I'd keep him. John stays. He stays until he wants to retire, so he stays at the club as my number 2. By the way, I'm hoping that I remember to edit this in, because I actually forgot to mention this at the start. But for those of you that are going to question, Jack, why haven't you got the club badge in the corner? All I'm going to say, to be safe, is please visit my bio on my YouTube channel. And hopefully that explains everything. Obviously, when you read that, you'll realize that I simply can't. Hopefully that's enough information for you to understand. But I really hope you understand. I just can't do that. But I really wanted to play this save with this team. It had to be them. It had to be this team. So there was no way I was going to pick somebody else just because I could have the badge. So that's why you don't see it. Hopefully you understand that. And yeah, I just thought I'd make that clear at the start before anybody starts messaging why you're not using the files. There's your answer. Hopefully that's enough. My current head of youth isn't probably the absolute best head of youth that I would want, with working with youngsters only 13 and the personality not being ideal, but he's not the worst, is he? Like, it could be a lot worse than that. So I decided to leave him in for now. And but he will likely get replaced at some stage. Like, again, I can't stress how difficult it was to just bring people in at the start. So it was good enough for now, but I knew I'd have to replace him eventually. For me, like, the most important positions in my youth team like the personality, getting the personality right, getting the determination right, getting the youngsters rating right is your head of youth, the 19s manager, and probably then your 19s assistant manager and slash a couple of coaches. If you can get all of them with a similar personality, similar determination, similar working with youngsters, I feel that has given me, in my experience, I'm talking about just my experience, that has given me a pretty good set of young players to come through. So yeah, anyway, that is what we have done for this team. That is your basic, your coaching staff. I've not gone through every single member of staff because, yeah, I mean, do you want to see everybody? Got my set piece coaching in. I just ignored this because I was going to take control of it anyway, so I didn't really care what his actual preferences were. And like physios and sports scientists, give me the best attribute available, basically, is what we're looking for there. Pretty simple. Recruitment analysts and scouts are about as useless as they could get in this kind of save because we can only sign Basque players. But that's pretty much it. That's your coaching staff. Nothing too much really more to show you there. But you know, that's it. We've got our set hierarchy of personality, determination, working with youngsters for our youth coaches, trying to get them in that bracket. First team coaches, the first and most important thing is the attribute. Then if we can match up the determination and we can match up the personality, that's secondary. It's not an absolute essential, but it's preferred, but not essential. Training, I have largely left to the assistant manager to take the actual schedules, but I make sure that I have double intensity here. I'm going to change this pretty soon because I found myself having to manually rest players too often. But this, for now, is what I started off with, and that's how we set up training for the entire season. Just make sure it's double intensity for these two here, and that goes for every single team is the same, 19s, B, and the C team. And that takes us nicely on to how we're going to now utilize our academy. Now, the one good thing about playing with Athletic Club is you have a 19s team, which is great. There's your 19s team there. You have a B team who play in a playable league, which is great. And you also have a C team who do not play in a playable league at the start. There's so many different ways you go about this. And because you also have the option to then loan players out. So what I've tended to have done here is my C team, I put some youngsters in there that are okay young players that are never going to get, though, in the first team. I tried to place them in this team so that the game would simulate their season with, I don't know, slightly better players in than they should have in the C team, and hoping they get promoted to a playable division. That was the theory. That was my hope. And we'll see if that comes to fruition. And the B team, as you can see, had a pretty good season, which I was quite impressed with them. They did really well, actually, much better than I thought that they would. And then a really successful season themselves, which was good to see. But yeah, in terms of how I'm going to use them, I'm going through different theories as I'm going with this. Now, at one stage, I thought that playing players in the B team was the best way to go because we still controlled what positions they're going to play in. Well, actually, I can't really control that well, but I control the playing style they're going to play in. They're going to play in one of our teams in our, playing style. They're going to play in a team that should be able to succeed most often with our facilities. So I felt like that playing in our B team is where all of our golden ticket players, the players that look they're going to become potentially the best players that we've got, stick them in our B team. Players that we're not sure about, we loan out, and then we use the under 19s to be really, for players that get simulated into the game, their very first season in the game, they play for the 19s, so when they're 16, 17, and then as soon as they're hitting that 18 area, that's when they need to either go to the B team or go out on loan or go to the first team if they're that good. That's how I sort of started off my theory, was that's how we were going to sort of go. I also just put some players in there to try and get them promoted, the B team, because they could still get promoted from this league into higher ones. So that was the idea, and that's how that team looked for this season. Okay, let's introduce you to the playing squad and the tactic we're going to be using. We're going to go through the players first, and then we'll show you the tactic and how they're going to fit into the tactic. At least that's what we hope is going to happen. So I won't go through every single player, but I'm going to go through the starting 11, the key players, and some of maybe the key youngsters coming through. So the first thing to look at is our goalkeeper. Unai Simon is absolutely brilliant. Like, on paper, he's just class, isn't he? He's a really good goalkeeper. He's good in the air. Come and collect it. He's good at sweeping. He's just got absolutely everything you could possibly want. He's only 26, so, really, I'm hoping he's my number one for the next 10 years, really. So I don't have to worry about a goalkeeper for 10 years. At least not number one. He's your number one, and the longer we can keep him, the better. I've got no problems whatsoever in him being our number one. And yeah, he's going to pick himself for the foreseeable future. Next is Danny Vivian. Danny Vivian was, for me, by far the best defender at the club and was going to probably progress to being the best. So he's be a starting centre-back again for quite a few years. He's got a lot of interest in him, and he's not really interested in signing a new contract. and he's only got 2 years left on his current one, so I'm a little concerned about this, but he's a really good player. Could play centre-back or full-back if needed, but really is by far the best centre-back at the club, so that's your captain of the future, I think. Danny Vivian. Mikel Basque, he actually really surprised me. I really started to rely on him quite heavily toward the back end of the season. For the first half of the season, he didn't play much at all. The back end of the season, every single time I needed to sub somebody on to see out the game, he was the one. It seemed like every time he went on the pitch, we just would never lose. And there are a few crucial games towards the back end of the season that you're going to see where he came on and he was just absolutely brilliant. Like, he was absolutely fantastic. He won the ball so much, he kept it. It seemed like he was way more agile and better on the ball than his attributes would suggest, but he was really good. Probably the biggest surprise of the team, but he's a very good player. Oyhan Sanset. Now, I was really excited about him being a very good creative midfield player, 6'2", and only 24 years old. You think that he's really going to be the key player to build the team around over the next... I always want to say 10 years because, all of them could keep going for 10 years. As you can see, he's actually got an 8-year contract. Now, the 8-year contract's going to come up quite a few times in the series. I'll show you later on how we've done that with certain players. Obviously, this one he's actually got, I think, in real life, or at least it's in the game. So this one we can't take credit for, but we'll be taking credit for the future ones that you're going to see, for the 8-year contracts that you'll see. We'll show you that in a bit. But the Sunset is going to be obviously one of the key players for the entire team. Ika Munayin, the current captain on the game, really good player, 31 years old. I can't believe he's still only 31. Like, it's just crazy, isn't it? Very, very good player. Going to play as our number 10 for the season. Really, really good player. And he's apparently getting better. He's improving, so that's always good. It's always good to see. Inaki Williams, a little bit like the Munayin one, where he's a player that's for right now. He's going to be a key player right now. And Inaki Williams will still be a key player for the next couple of years, maybe even 3 or 4. But then eventually he's going to probably fade off a bit. He's the only player really in the squad that has express pace and could play as like a top-level winger maybe. But, I mean, if you ignore the name and you look at just the attribute spread, I'm not sure how many people would want him. That, if you're playing FM and you're trying to win the league with a team, I'm not sure how many of you would actually want him in your team as a starting player. He's by far our best winger, by far our best winger / forward with pace. So immediate future, key player, long-term future, we'll see. Then we move on to Inaki Williams' brother, Nico Williams. Nico Williams is absolutely brilliant. He's only 21 years old, so he's got lots and lots of room to improve. And he really is, and a bit like the Sunset mold, he's going to be a key player for the next 10 years. He's going to be here for the decade. If we can fend off the interest from the other side, so inevitably going to come in for him at some stage, you would think. Could get really good. If he got a bit quicker, he's going to be absolutely unplayable, I think, with our team. Really looking forward to seeing how he develops, actually. And hopefully able to help us win trophies now and in the future. But really good player. Going to be by far our best player, I think, for the first at least 4 or 5 years. And, well, I mean, I hope that he isn't our best player in 10 years' time, because I hope that we've developed some players that are better than him. But really good player. Our best player. Definitely our best attacking player. And I've got to be honest, that's pretty much it from the original team. What I'm going to do now is show you the players that I've signed into this team. So there wasn't really much at fullback. So let's go through the signings now that we made. So starting from John here. John was my first signing and downwards from there. So we signed John Moncayola. He comes in. He came in to be really a starting pivot player. Really, really good player. He's just about good enough defensively. He's quick, he's mobile, doesn't have much dribbling, which is why I play him as an actual pivot player rather than like a box-to-box, something like that. Because of his lack of dribbling, I felt like the defensive midfield, maybe fullback in an emergency, and that's going to become a theme, is not just buying players for one position, but buying players that can play 2, because whenever I've played FM, I always tend to sign 2 players for every position, but then if you do that, there's going to be some players that don't really play that much, and we can't afford to do that. We need players to be playing minutes to develop, because if I bring in a young player who is good enough to be a backup, probably isn't quite good enough to start, and I keep them as a backup player for an entire year, that could be a completely wasted year of development that I can't afford, because I may not get another good fullback for 5 years in the game. So you've got to be very careful about trying to keep, maybe a bit like in the Bielsa mold, really, a smaller squad of players with players that can play in more than one position. That's really, really important for us. So Moncayola coming in as a pivot player that can play fullback too if needed, could even play centre back if he really needed to. That's really important. Side of a back 3, right? If we have to go to the back 3 system, you've got John here who could definitely play on the side of a back three if needed. So he was a really good signing, I thought. And he came in for £7.5 million. That's a pretty good signing, that. Kike Barja came in as really a backup winger. 3 starts only, was just very good coming off the bench. He became my go-to player off the bench, really, for an attacking player. Mikel was our defensive midfield player that came off the bench, but he was our attacking one. Is he great? No, but he was good enough. And that's what we needed. Hugo Guillamon comes in from Valencia for £14.5 million. Starting centre-back for us this season. Isn't probably the best centre-back profile, I guess, with such a lack of marking and tackling. Probably better as a defensive field player, or even as a fullback with some traits that would indicate more of a pivot than a centre-back with the tries long passes, comes deep to get ball, etc., etc. But again, player that could play centre-back, can play as a pivot, could play fullback too. Multiple positions, good player. Good young player too. John Bautista came in for £2.9 million. Just to be really a backup striker. I wanted a striker that was good off the bench, that was quite all-rounded, so had a tiny bit of pace, but was good in the air too, and could do a bit of everything. And John Bautista fit that criteria pretty good for us. Ian Munoz came in only on loan, but I literally could not find another left-back to sign that was going to be remotely good and that would come to us. There are a few okay left-backs, actually, but they wouldn't come to us. So the choice was, do I just loan him for the season? And luckily, our biggest rivals, Real Sociedad, loaned him to us with 0 fees being taken. We only had to cover his entire wages. And I thought, okay, it's not permanent, and he may not even join us at the end of the season, but if we can loan him for his entire wages, that right this second is better than anything else we've got at left back. So he came in, and he was a really good player, and I was quite impressed with him, actually. And in particular, really, really good off the bench, especially when we needed to chase the game. So, yeah, Munoz, brilliant player. Jesus Areza came in on loan. He didn't really play much, to be honest, in the end, which was a bit of a shame. But, yeah, he came in for like $1 million. Ingo Vicente, a really good midfield player, actually. And somebody who was really good off the bench, but didn't really start too many games. But he came from the second tier. So we had to buy somebody from the second tier in Spain to come and be a player for us that was going to make 8 starts in the league and 17 sub appearances too, getting himself a few goals and assists. So good player. Ruben Alves yet again came from the second tier in Spanish football, and he came in along with Vicente on the last day of the window, the summer window. And Ruben Alves started off as a backup player. For me, he was a backup centre-back, could play full-back if needed in emergency. Look at him. He's not the best, but look at his starts. He ended up having 23 starts for Athletic Bilbao. Yeah, when you see how the season develops, you're going to be quite shocked at really how this all came about. But yeah, he was really good. Attributes don't always mean everything, I guess, sometimes if you've got the right tactic and player profiles around them. But yeah, he was really good. A big surprise package too. And there's 2 players down here. I'm not going to show them to you just yet because I didn't sign them until January. And I want to sort of tell you the story of what happened in the first half of the season. And I'll then show you them when we get to the actual January transfer window. And I'll show you how the story went as we built up to the start of the season. So before we get started in our documentary and our long journey here together, I'm going to show you the tactic and the way that we're going to try and play. Now you've seen some of the player profiles of the players that we've got. Now you're going to see the tactic, and you're probably going to picture in your head who sort of played where. But let's get into the tactic and see what we had for at least... I'll show you what I started off with at the start of the season and how we started. So this was the tactic roughly. It's very, very similar to the tactic that I used in my England series. It's a bit of a hybrid of a Pep and a Bielsa recreation. It isn't quite as possession-based as the Pep tactic that I had of this, and it's slightly more aggressive out of possession. Really, I wanted us to be as aggressive as we could. The thing that I guess is more Pep-like is the way we do a 3-2 build-up. We used... in my head, what I was thinking is we weren't going to be able to get very good wing-backs at all. I didn't think we were going to get very good wing-backs coming through, and there weren't very many good wing-backs at the start. So my thought process was, okay, let's play 4 centre-backs across the back and have one of them rotate into midfield to be a pivot player. And for me, originally, I thought, okay, let's go with the libero, like a John Stones role. You go up there and make the 3-2, and we'll have 3 centre-backs beyond that. So that was the idea behind it, which is why, in the end, my wing-backs didn't play as much, because I sort of I brought them in because they were the best defenders that I could get, but they weren't really good enough in the air to be like proper centre-backs, which is the sort of profile of players I was going for. I wanted us to try and control the game with possession, but we didn't want to be, too stagnant with the possession. We wanted to still be aggressive with the ball if we could. We wanted to be unbelievably aggressive off the ball, which is why my number 10 is really playing like in a number 10 spot, not a number 8. And yeah, that's sort of how it started. Now, originally, I actually had these two as different roles. I tried everything. I tried every combination possible at the start with my two wingers. And what I was finding was they weren't really doing much in the game. They might get the odd tap in, etc. When they were getting the ball, they were sort of running with it, and then quite often running with it and just passing it back and not really building the attack. They'd run really far from the rest of the team, and I wasn't liking the attacks that I got. So what I ended up switching to was advanced playmaker, because they still did lots of winger things. Like, you'd still see Nico Williams the odd time would get it and run with it and score the odd like magic goal and that kind of stuff. What they did quite a lot of is they'd get on the ball, and then you'd see the two midfield players here make runs beyond, and they play through balls for their runs. It didn't happen all the time, but it happened substantially more than if they were a winger or inverted winger or inside forward. So that was the process and how it ended up becoming advanced playmakers. But I did try absolutely everything for the wide players, and they didn't start off like playmakers. They did start off like with everything else but that. But eventually I ended up resorting to going back to the playmakers for this tactic. So my thought process at this point is, okay, it's not quite as like pep and possession based as the other version of the tactic that you would have seen if you saw my other video, my other series. And we need to still be a threat. We still need to be able to break in behind. And I was very aware that maybe the two wingers could be a problem, which is why I was switching different roles. But in fact, I'll just leave it like that, because it was something more like this. I would have said at the start. It was something more like that. Yeah, and I was already like pretty set on the, if we were too passive in possession, that I'd have to change the mentality and get the risk up, get players making more risks, taking more risks, and making us a lot more transitional than controlled. That was something that I was already aware of. But that's how we started. We started off with this pretty much. And then at this point here, I'd got my staff in. I'd set myself up for a good enough coaching staff for this year. I'd set our academy up for the next few years, the coaching staff. I knew that for the next few intakes, and really I didn't want to judge the whole academy staff on one intake. So I was like, okay, the next 3 years are set. We'll see what the next 3 intakes do, and we'll see if we need to keep changing the coaching staff from that point onwards. But we felt like the club was pretty much set up. We had our DNA set with our coaching staff, especially the academy coaching staff. We'd brought the players in to improve the starting 11, and it got to a stage then where we were like, okay, let's go through to the first game. Let's start our journey together, and let's see how close this tactic is, and if we do need to tweak it, where are we going to tweak it? And just to make sure you can see it again, that's your in possession. If you want to take a screenshot, if you want to recreate this yourself, that's your transition. And then lastly, you're out of possession, all out press pretty much. But a lot of this is going to change as we went through. But this is how we started. This was our starting point. It's not the end point, it's just the start point. And that was it. I was ready to go. I was excited. I was thinking, right, okay, we'll see how it develops. I felt like that if we could have a really good start, we could challenge the title. What we needed to avoid was one of the two teams at the top to go on like a wonder run. Like if they were to play, I don't know, if Barcelona or Real Madrid played like a relegation battle at home first game, win like 7-0, then they happen to play Valencia or Sevilla away next, and then they win that game too. That's one of the few games in the season they could drop points to, Valencia or Sevilla. So, you know, basically, if the cards that you're dealt go wrong, it could be very, very difficult. And I think that playing as Bilbao can be a lot easier or more difficult for two different people based purely on the hand they're dealt. Yes, academy players that come through, that's a bit of randomness to it, but also how the two AI teams do in your division. And we're going to see as we go through this journey in how Real Madrid and Barcelona do and what decisions they make in terms of their manager can be a huge defining factor on how your save goes. So if somebody was to do really well with Bilbao and somebody else was not to do as well with Bilbao, it's not always easy to assume that one person had done better than the other. The other person could have got very, very unlucky. And it was what makes this so exciting. This save was so exciting to go through. But anyway, let's get through and let's review the first few games of the season and see where we left ourselves after the first month. Athletic Club got off to a great start, winning the first game of the season 3-1 against Rayo Vallecano. John Bautista got the club off to a great start with a goal after 20 minutes, and Athletic Club absolutely dominated the game with over 3 XG and 78% possession. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. 658 passes to 188 for the opposition. The game got off to a great start with John Bautista getting his first goal for the club and got the football club underway for the season. A lovely ball going down to the left side here with Nico Williams, crosses it towards the middle. John Bautista, the great leaping header, getting himself the goal. Second one coming through the middle here, Munain to Nico Williams, back into John Bautista, a goal from outside the area. So you get a goal from outside the area and a big header. And the third one coming from a great bit of play, Nico Williams making it 3. And then right at the end of the game, a penalty for Rio Vallecano. So pretty good start. Very, very good start. You can see by the stats there, it was actually really impressive from us. We absolutely dominated the game, played some really good football in it as well. And there wasn't too much really to show you apart from the goals really in that game because we just dominated. There wasn't too much drama. And I thought, wow, maybe this is going to be relatively easy. Let's move on to the next game. You're joining us live in the 61st minute here between Granada and Athletic Club. Throw-in comes in, play down the line to Nico Williams. Nico Williams has it, plays it back to DeMarcos. What's he going to do with this? Plays into Vesga. Vesga has a shot, and it just goes over the bar. Stays 0-0. And honestly, at this point of the game, I'm thinking that we had about 65-70% possession. They had basically no chances. The one chance you've just seen was one of many, but like they were all quite low XG chances. But we were peppering their goal. And I felt like that, okay, let's go for it because, you know, they're not a threat. And we really do need to win this game, I think. Beating those low... I think there's two things right really here. One, I'm thinking we need to beat the big sides at home. If we can beat Barcelona and Real Madrid at home and lose to them away, that's whatever. Then it will come down to results against the AI teams, right? The other teams. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that as well as we have to beat them at home, we cannot afford to draw away in these kind of games against sides that are not expected to be in the European places. So I've decided at this point then to go quite attacking, but relatively calm and confident at this stage still. And things are looking pretty good. Athletic Club have got the ball back here in their nice 3-2 build-up shape here. Yuri plays it into Danny Vivian and going to try and progress the play. Looks to play it into Nico Williams. Hugo now gets it, switches it out to Nico Williams. Going to try and bring it down. Doesn't quite get to that. Yuri's going to collect it for Bilbao. Granada set up in their mid-block there in a nice 4-3-3 formation. Yuri's going to get it though. He's going to play it into Danny Vivian. And we're going to see a slow building attack here from Athletic to play into Moncaola. Plays it forwards, gets intercepted. It's going to be hit now on the counter. This could be an issue actually for Athletic Club. It's played long, and there goes in behind, headed away, goes across. They're going to still build the attack out Granada, play back to the pivot player, back into central field player. Into Plestri on the right hand side, plays it back. They're still retaining the ball pretty good here. Played it in behind, it goes through. Shoots, and he scores. And it's been flagged offside, though. I think Athletic Club might get away with this. Athletic Club will be absolutely delighted with this great decision by the assistant referee. And it is going to be flagged offside. Very close, though. Could have been a disaster, that, for Athletic Club. Free kick for Bilbao goes towards the far post. Yuri gets headed towards goal, and he's hit the post, and it's cleared away. No! Oh, it was so close. Free kick for Bilbao, whipped in towards Gomez. Surely heads it towards goal. Keeper flaps it, hit the... What is going on in this game? Now, those of you that have played FM before have been in this scenario, and you just think that the game's against me, something's going to happen here. Like, we're going to get done. We're absolutely going to get done. I can't believe we're going to get a 0-0 draw against Granada. Like, why can't we score one of those two chances? What's going on? And little did Bilbao know it could have gone even worse. No. There is absolutely no way that is a penalty. I'm not having it. Disgrace. And the referee is going to give a penalty. Granada have got an opportunity now to score for pretty much the last kick of the game. We're in the 90th minute. All they've got to do is hit the back of the net to potentially give Athletic Bilbao the first defeat of the season. And they score. Absolutely devastating. Absolute disgrace. 1-0 Granada. Bilbao take 0 points from this one. Yeah, so, you know, not a great second game. Torres is gone. Like, this is already gone. Like, just a second game in. You can't afford to lose those kind of games, right? And, you know, they had one early chance that was offside. That could have gone against us, but went in our favour. Then we missed our chances. And I just thought that, you know, at this stage, surely we had to win that game, really. And to not only not win it, but then to actually lose it, not even get the draw, was just like... Or instantly from that one result, my expectations have gone from like potential title race. If we get everything right, title race, okay, just get top four. Just European places will do this year. Obviously, really the target for this year, any type of European football would be great, but that's what we wanted. And what a shame, what a disappointing game for us. So the first two games were both games where we controlled the game in terms of possession, but we just weren't really good enough at creating chances. We weren't really good enough at creating chances in this game, and we're a bit toothless. So something to watch out for us. So at this stage, I'm thinking that's something to watch out for. Is we're quite toothless in this game, but we're really good in the first one. But we were at home. But really, you couldn't afford to drop points there, but we did. We then followed up that game with a win against Villarreal at home in a 3-1 victory for us. But as you can see, it wasn't really great for us. The XG was quite similar for both teams. That wasn't really great for us being the home side. We had loads of possession, but we gave up a lot of chances in this game, which is quite worrying. And it felt like the only reason we won this, we were the home side, really. That if we'd have been away, we probably would have dropped points here. So that was something that wasn't great. And then to end the first month of the season, we finished up with a 2-2 draw away to Getafe. So after the 4 games, that's 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat. And both away games we haven't won. And even in one of the home games that we've won, we gave up so much XG. And as you can see here, even against Getafe, that's a lot of XG for us to give up. For a team that's looking to get into European places and challenge the title, you know, even if we could just get close enough to be within touching distance of Madrid and Barca, that's what we were looking for. And this is just absolutely nowhere near good enough. So it was after this game where the first sort of set of tactical changes started to occur. Yeah, I was really not. Unai Simon seems to every now and again, he seems to have one of those games where he'll let in like 2 from absolutely miles out. It was so frustrating to watch. The issue though for us was more the fact that who we dropped points to. You know, and I was really thankful that everybody dropped points at least in some form, but it was who we had dropped points to. I think it was Barcelona had lost away to Atletico Madrid. That was one of the few games they might have lost anyway. So it really wasn't a great start in terms of us pushing for the title, but top 4 looked like it was going to be there. But I really wanted us to go for the title early with a good bit of form and a decent tactic that works. I feel like the gap between us and Real Madrid and Barcelona is going to be closer now than it could be in 3 or 4 years' time when they start to sign better players. And the thing is, we might be able to keep pace with them. We might. But I can't know that for sure because it depends on what players come through our academy. That's what we're beholden onto, right? Along with the other Basque teams' academies too. So that was really what we were looking at. But that was your league table after 1 month into the season. And at this stage, I'm thinking, right, tactic has to change. Like, we've dropped points twice already. Luckily, everybody else has dropped points too, so we're sort of still there. But we need to change something. We're very toothless, and we are very, very prone to the counter. It's like we push teams too far back while also being toothless, which is twofold an issue. One, we're obviously not breaking through teams and creating good chances. And then 2, we're so far pushed up that we're just getting counted on too easily. So something had to change. With a bit of iteration over time, the tactic changed from this into this. So that was the tactical change that we made. It was a difference in mentality, largely. A few instructions are different too, but the mentality and some of the roles there being different, as you can see, the change between the two. That was the big part of the change, as well as then some of the in possession settings here. I wanted us to be a lot more progressive with the ball, a lot more direct with it along the floor. I wanted to keep it along the floor, but we wanted to move the ball quickly and progress through teams. But then I didn't want it to be too dribble heavy, so we now have dribble less as well, because it looks a little bit like a contradiction, but that's what that's there for, to make sure they're not then too dribble heavy. But that was the big tactical change that we made, and that led to the performances and the results for the next games. We started off our run of fixtures with a 1-0 win against Valencia at home, who had a pretty poor start, to be honest. We had a really, really good performance against them. Didn't create the most chances, like 2.29 XG isn't the best, is it really, when you're the home side? And we had a penalty too. But we scored the penalty. It was good enough, and we moved on then to the next one. The next game we played against Pamplona, and it was an absolutely chaotic game. Loads of possession, lots of XG for us, hardly any for them, but they still managed to score 3 goals. Unai Simon didn't have his best game. I will just watch some of the chances in this, and you can see sort of from kickoff here how we're trying to get the ball forwards a lot quicker. Straight away, Sunset goes forward, and again into Inaki Williams here on the right-hand side. You can just see the intent of the players to get the ball forwards a bit more with the change in mentality and a change in tempo too. And you can just see, maybe that's probably too direct, but you can see the complete difference in shift of the possession stats you were seeing previous to then what you were seeing here. Pretty good performance from us in possession, but as you can see, going to see from the goals, really, really poor from us in not really just defensively, but in transition too. Neckerman goes through. Sunset there takes a good touch, goes through. And I loved Sunset's little runs he was making from that position. Now, there he got the ball in space, sort of ran into the space. But other times, what he would do is he'd make that run in behind from that sort of position, that left centre of the field. So I was really liking Sunset at this moment. Here we concede our first goal of the game. So John Bautista sort of freezes on the ball here, doesn't have enough players. I guess he doesn't feel like he's got enough players. He has got somebody right here to use. John, if you can see him, right there, son. Got our 3-2 structure right there. You can see our 3 and our 2. So you would hope from here, really, that if he loses the ball, that we should really be able to deal with what we've seen there. But we lose it here. They play it long in behind, and somehow our right back doesn't get back. Now, Luike isn't one of our best players. He's one of our backup players, but still goes to the far post header. And my left back, and this is why Munoz, and that's why I don't like Munoz at left back, because he is a really good attacking left back. But don't forget, we're trying to play with 3 centre backs. And if we go back here, if we go back to where we lose the ball, this sort of area here. So let's say they were to play it long up there. What I'm hoping for is when it sort of goes long here, when they do that, what I want is my side centre-backs of the, I guess, back 3 as it is here, to go and attack this in here and head it away. And that is when they are probably slightly further up the pitch. If we were to lose this, another, let's say, I don't know, if we were to lose this like around here and they were a tiny bit higher, quite often when the opponent clears it, my side centre-backs are in a good position to just go and head it straight away. But they have to have good jumping reach and be aggressive, of which neither is applied to my fullback. And so, yeah, that's one reason why I like them being good in the air. The second reason is that we tend to face a lot of crosses to the back post. And obviously, that's also where having then a player good in the air would come into play now. So it's really important for me at this stage to try and get centre-backs to play on the side of the back 4, because that's just not acceptable, like at all for me. And it's going to be a huge issue, because that's where we concede most of our chances from. And again here, Nico Williams goes on the right hand side. That's sorry, I said Naki Williams goes through, gets tackled. Hugo goes through, slots it in for another one for us. Rare set piece goal for us, I guess if you want to call it a set piece. Played across to Moncayola, back into Sunset. Takes some great touches, cuts inside, gets his shot away. Not the best goalkeeping. An attack cleared up the line from them. Aymar, who's going to play an important role for us later in the season, plays it into there. Moy Gomez, he just goes absolutely round the side player. So you can see it again. That's the second time that our fullbacks our fullback on this side has been in trouble. Cross yet again towards the far side, yet again beaten in the air in our own area. Really annoying that is. And because that's all they could create was that. Then a penalty for us, which, yeah, well, there you go. Pretty simple. And then to finish off, they put it on the line. They're going to cross the ball in again, is it? It's a little cutback this time. And there you go. Played through. Don't know what that is. And I mean, just absolute calamity of errors everywhere there. And that was your game. Finished 4-3. But I think you could see there, like, there were times where even we pinned them fairly close to their goal, they're clearing it and our fullbacks are an issue. And I was getting really annoyed about the fact that how good do they have to be in the air? Do I have to play literally 4 complete centre-backs in there? And it really took me away from wanting to use Munoz going forward. This game really worried me quite a bit because we could easily have lost that game. And look at the XG. They created nothing. So my theory is then, if they can't create much apart from crosses, if we can just get a backline that can just deal with that, just deal with those clearances that are high and just deal with the cross of the far post, the rest of the tactic is working well enough for us to batter teams away from home, let alone at home. So all we need to do is solve those problems. So what I decided to do from this point forwards was only really select players that are good in the air first. If my other left backs are out and as everybody else is out injured, then I'll start to use those players. But really, I need definitely one of the fullbacks needs to be excellent in the air, not just good, but excellent. And if possible, both. But I definitely can't have 2 like orthodox fullbacks there again. With the way this tactic's currently set up, that's just the conclusion that I drew in this moment in time. A very easy and comfortable 2-0 win against Real Betis was followed up with another 4-3. Second game in a row, it went to a 4-3 game away from home. And XG, you can see there's quite similar for both teams. No penalties at all. Just the XG being really close. We'll have a look at some of the goals here. And you can see here we're getting really good overloads. You can see that advanced playmaker still making that run in behind, like I was saying before, that they don't need to be an inside forward to make that run if we can get them into the right areas. Nico Williams doing good there. Look back at this, we'll go back a bit further. So here we've turned over the ball. They've cleared it long, straight into that exact area. See what we're talking about? I talked about this a second ago, and I didn't even know this was coming back up there. Again, there's Munoz. So again, like I was speaking about before a second ago, Munoz there has caught up in the air, completely missed it. Now, that is just a mistake, right? That's not because he's just poor in the air. That just happens to be a mistake too. But I just feel like that a centre-back profile of player just wouldn't make that mistake. But you can see here, right from this example again, where I've managed to create a tactic that's creating good enough chances to win games, and we're stopping opposition teams from getting that much XG. But we've got two things that we need to solve from it. Is for this tactic to work, weirdly, the only thing I feel like I need is defenders that are good in the air. Apart from that, everything else in the tactic works with the profile of players that I've already got. But let's continue. I'll watch out the conclusion of this attack. Kato goes through on the right-hand side, plays it across the striker, and they're just going to get through, aren't they, and score some absolute nonsense against us. There you go, Simon, another weak effort in goal for him. Yeah, so frustrating there. Absolutely putting the business on us there as Gutierrez misses his challenge. And are we going to get a goal from across? We did score a few of these throughout the season. John Bautista goes up, heads it, and makes it another goal for us there, which is good. Another goal for them here. They're going to swing this in from the side after throwing towards the near post. That had nothing to do with the aerial ability, so that one. Finally, we conceded a goal that wasn't down to the issue we've just described. Going wide again, Naki Williams. Nico Williams is the one with Junior in his name. Vicente and Vesca goes through. And that is what I mean. Vesca just, I don't know. There was something about little Vesca that I loved. And before we carry on, there's just something on Vesca quickly. Vesca was just immense. Like, he is a proper defensive midfield player. He's a pivot player. He hasn't got much dribbling, much finishing. Every time he came onto the pitch and we were winning, we continued to win. But even when we were chasing games, he'd still pop up the odd goal. He'd be involved in the winning goal. Although he was a defensive player, I sometimes used him as an attacking change in defensive midfield because he was it. Like, he was everything you'd want him to be and more, but we'll carry on. And then, I mean, on the theme of being bad in the air, there you go, big set piece goal. I mean, I can't guarantee having, one better fullback in the air would have changed that. But Ruben Alves now came on after that goal, I think it was. I was quite frustrated at this point. I was like, fuck it, let's just get my left-footed centre-back on there, and we scored the winner late on to win it 4-3. Now, Ruben Alves, as I've mentioned before, is a very, very, word to use here is he's quite, I would say, an average defender. Like, he's nothing special. He's quite an average defender, I would say. Ruben Alves is here. But what is he good at? He's good in the air. And that's all I needed. So when he came on, he was really good in the air and he was involved in setting up the winning goal for that. And that was really the beginning of the end for Munoz was, I was already having those thoughts before and this was getting it concrete. Ruben Alves was going to be playing either centre-back or full-back for the rest of the season. Okay, coming up next for us was Atletico Madrid. Now, Atletico Madrid were playing a 5-at-the-back system. They were the only top side in the league playing a back five. And at the start of this match against them, it was still 0-0 for quite a long time in the game. Our rotations weren't really working, and they kept getting through with two strikers. So if you imagine that every single time we were losing the ball, even though it's supposed to be like a 3 versus the 2, because the player rotating into midfield was the centre-back, they were catching us out because the back three, when they would start to go back to their normal out of possession, there'd be sometimes like a brief pause where there'd be quite a big gap between the two, and those two strikers kept breaking through. So I felt like that I had to make a change during the game. And what I decided to do was, rather than play this, I decided to make the back three this. So instead of the back three being the two fullbacks and the left centre back, now it was going to be these three were going to be the back three in possession, or at least as our rest defence. And then I was going to push the wing back high. And then what that enabled us to do as well is, if we're able to get this player on the ball, we could create like a 2v1 on their wing back. That was the idea anyway behind it. And that led to the following that happened in the game. So you can see now early on here, you can see the sort of three, you can see how Rezo's like checking inside a bit. That is definitely a back three in how the rotations work. And then Munoz, you can see, isn't rotating to defensive midfield, and he's also not dropping in as part of the back line. He's just staying out wide, and he's going to stay high and occupy a wide position here. We'll see a bit better in a second. We'll get it paused. I think around here we lose it. Somewhere around here. But you can see now quite clear defined back three, as it were. In our rest events with the two. So you got one extra player you think is okay. That's not too bad there. And even though the two centre-backs are technically still quite far apart, before, obviously, one of them was right up here, and it was just too much of a gap for them to recover into. But Munoz plays it back to Alves here. Now, Ruben Alves obviously isn't maybe the best technical centre-back, so he gets on the ball here, and then, loses it, and they counter on us. And you just see how, like, the players are running through all the gaps that were leaving. And it was a problem for us. Them hitting us on the counter, the two strikers, was a huge issue. Alves clears it away, but it's going to come back towards us here. They're going to get a cross in from Molina. He crosses it towards the far post. Unai Simon does one of his mistakes, and they score a goal. So ultimately, did they really create a good chance from that? Not really. They got quite lucky because it was a mistake from the goalkeeper. But that sort of, the first couple of balls they played through our back line just was a huge issue for the entire game, and that's what led to the change in tactic anyway. Later on in the game here, we're trying to chase and get a goal back, obviously. It's a good combination play. Williams goes through, shoots, scores, and the game finished 1-1. So quick look at the stats for us in this game. What you're starting to see now is a trend. I don't know if you've been paying attention throughout the previous games, that the average possession is starting to come down a bit for us. As the tactic's been tweaked to where it is, the more attacking mentality, the more risk we're taking, the higher tempo we're playing at, and the way that we're sort of using the players, where we're having less overall possession, but we're normally, I'd say, more efficient with the possession. This game was different. Just the back three really messed us up, and it was a much different type of game and the way the patterns were developing than what we were used to doing and playing against. So yeah, I saw that as a bit of a one-off. The next one, play them at home, will beat them. So I was disappointed, but Atletico Madrid also had a really good start to the season. I think they started off really well, and I knew it was going to be tough because their form was high, the morale was high. They were going to be an issue, and they were an issue. So that game finished 1-1. So that left the league table looking as follows. So we're pretty much around the quarter-way mark in the season so far. As you can see at this stage, Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid both with 0 defeats, one on 23 points. Real Madrid on 23 points, Atletico Madrid on 21. We're on 20 points, and the Barca are on 18, and Girona are on 16. And at this stage, I still felt that we dropped too many points in games that we shouldn't have done. Although Atletico Madrid away, like as you can see here, that was only their third draw of the season. They'd won the rest of their games. If they hadn't drawn, they'd won their games. They hadn't lost at all. So, yeah, I mean, I was quite pleased Barcelona had done so badly because it meant we had a bit of a chance. But that was how it started at this stage, and that was the quarter-way point. But I felt like that at this stage now, I'd identified... We made the tweaks to the tactic to make it slightly less possession-based, and slightly more progressive with the ball. We'd identified that we needed players that were better in the air to stop the one type of goals that we were conceding. So I felt like at this stage we're in a pretty good place for just seeing what we can do now. In terms of the fixtures coming up, I just felt like that we had a good chance of going on a good run. After that Atletico Madrid game, we didn't play really a proper tough game again until we played Real Sociedad, our local rivals, our Basque rivals, until the 1st of December. So this game was on the 8th of October, so until the 1st of December, there wasn't really another league match that was going to be much of an issue. So I felt good going into this point. It felt like, we at least were going to be in with a shot. I felt like if we could win all those games now between now and playing Sociedad, we had a really good chance. And then the game immediately after that was home against Real Madrid. So I knew there was going to be a chance, but we had to see where the league table would look at least at that point. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to bring back with me going into that Real Sociedad game, and I'm just going to show you some highlights of the goals that happened between now and then with some of the results, so you can just see how the team was doing and how the tactic was playing, how the players were performing going in up to that sort of Christmas period.
Places to find a piece of something to call mine. A piece of something to call mine. Coming closer to you. Ran along many moors, walked through many doors. The place where I wanna be is the place I can call mine. Is the place I can call mine. I'm moving, I'm coming, can you hear what I hear? It's calling you, my dear, out of reach, to my knee. I can hear it calling you. I'm coming out, drowning, swimming closer to you. Never been here before. I'm intrigued, I'm unsure. I'm searching for more. I've got something that's all mine. I've got something that's all mine. I have seen, many places I have been. Walked the deserts, swam the shore. Many faces I have known, many ways in which I've grown. Moving closer on my own. I'm moving, I feel it. I'm coming, not drowning. I'm moving, I feel it. I'm coming, not drowning. I'm coming, can you hear what I hear? It's calling you, my dear, out of reach. Take me to my knees. I can hear it calling you. I'm coming, not drowning, swimming closer to you. I'm moving, I'm coming, can you hear what I hear? It's calling you, my dear, out of reach. Take me to my knees. I can hear it calling.
So after all those results, that left the league table looking as follows. Now, I did say that I thought that Real Sociedad was the next difficult game for us, and then before we even got there, we drew away to Mallorca, and then we lost at home to Sevilla, as you saw. Really frustrating. The Sevilla game in particular really did annoy me. We did have a few injuries, and as you would have seen if you're pay close attention, the goalkeeper that we had for that game was Julian. I'm trying to pronounce his name here. Agrizabala. I think that's how you pronounce that. He had a 6.5. He didn't play well. And I think partially, I won't say cost us the game, but it didn't help, did it? We had a few injuries for that game. It was quite difficult, and we lost. And I just think that, losing these kind of games with, as much as I'd love to have gotten that title race first season, at this stage, it's looking way more like it's going to be top 4. 5 points off of Real Madrid already, having to play them twice, and we haven't played Barcelona yet either. It's not looking great, is it? I mean, we'll see, though. It's a long way to go. But 14 games in, I mean, top 4 was looking very, very secure already, but the title was looking difficult. Thing is, though, even with winning the title, even if it wasn't going to be Real Madrid or Barcelona to win it, Atletico Madrid are right there, undefeated. So there was that too. There's lots of things to unpack with those games, but that set us up nicely going into 2 absolutely crucial games. We had Real Sociedad away and then Real Madrid at home. And having lost the Sevilla game, at this stage, I was thinking, any slip-ups in the next 2 matches, and it's probably over, we'll probably have to win both. Again, it's just too difficult to expect Real Madrid and Barcelona to keep dropping points, right? So that was the mentality going into. We weren't playing that well, though, going into these games. And then let's go through those 2 games now and see how we got on. It's been a pretty close game so far between the 2 sides. Building up possession nicely here. Hugo's going to play it into somebody in the midfield. He's going to keep going with it, travels with it, plays it in behind. And it's a disgrace, referee! Send him off! Send him off, ref. His elbows. Get him off. Get him off. Yes, there we go. Big red card. Despite the fact they're down to 10 men, I think we need to play with 12 because we're absolutely terrible at blocked shot. What are we doing? Can't break anything down. Arez is going to play it around the back, switches it. Okay, Yuri, what you got for us? Plays it into Munain. Goes past one. Goes through on goal. Is he going to cross? Referee got me penalty there, surely. Big legs coming out. Got to get rid of that ref. Send him off as well. Disgrace. Absolute disgrace in the derby. Lost their heads. They've completely lost their heads. Got to be a penalty. Hopefully we can score it. The score is still currently 0-0. And it's going to be a penalty. Can we score? Penalty. I mean, wow. It's a good job there, goalkeepers worse than ours. 1-0. And the game finished 1-0 to Athletic Bilbao. I mean, is what it is. It's a derby game. We won. Let's move on. That's all we needed to do. I mean, XG isn't great considering that was a penalty. And they've done 10 men for so long. But I mean, who cares? It's a derby game, isn't it? We won the game. Let's just move on. We'll talk about performance later. Real Madrid next. One thing to note early on is that Ruben Alves, by this point, is a starting left back. I'd given up completely with playing the other players. Ruben Alves is actually playing left back now. Although he's a central defender with not much technique, I just trusted him more in the defensive areas that he could do the business and in possession. All he has to do is that. Simple passes. That's all he's got to do. Sunset gets this, runs away. Valverde closes him down. It's difficult against the 2 top Spanish sides because they're so much quicker than all your players. And I feel like they can just they chase you down all the time. Great ball through. Williams goes through, and that is 1-0 to Athletic Bilbao. Really good early goal from us. That makes it 1-0 late on the game. We're trying to see out at this point. We've gone out to our defensive tactic that normally helps us see out the game. Low cross goes in. Arda Güler sneaks one in to make it 1-1. And that, unfortunately for us, is how it ended. It was a 1-1 draw. And I think that ultimately, that was good, and that was hard to take because I felt like we played pretty well. I felt like that we had players out again. Yuri playing centre back. I mean, like, Yuri wasn't my first choice centre back at all. I just by this point was getting exasperated because I felt like the tactic was so close and the team was so close, but we just weren't getting rewarded. I just feel like that if we hadn't have been beaten by Sevilla recently, that we may have been able to win that game. Anyway, I was gutted. I was really gutted. And there was a goal late on that was disallowed. Of course, it's Real Madrid. So, yeah, disappointing. But it was disappointing that it felt like that. If the cards would have felt a little differently for us, we could win the league this year. And having then gone on to win it in our first year would have been an incredible achievement. But yeah, at this stage it's just feeling like the carrot's been dangled, but we're just not going to quite get there. But yeah, that's how that finished. And then that is the rest of like the winter period that you can see at the bottom. So we then played Almeria and won that 2-0 with 2 red cards, might add. This is my favorite performance of all time. To get 2 red cards before the 55th minute and still win 2-0. I mean, if there is ever a Jack Serres performance in a game, that is it right there. Absolutely delighted with that. All-round round of applause. I absolutely love it. Love the intensity from the lads. Yeah, big 2-0 win for the boys against Almeria, and then a very comfortable 3-0 win against Celta Vigo. And that then led into the winter break. We had the Spanish Cup game here, then it was the winter break for a couple of weeks. So the league table was looking as follows going into the winter break. So now, approaching the halfway point, we're actually looking pretty good here, aren't we? All of a sudden, like, you're in with a shout as much as anybody, really, at this stage. You're in the hunt. We're currently second on 40 points. The only disappointing thing is, like I said earlier in the video, if you're going to win the Spanish league in your first season with something like Bilbao or Valencia, anybody like that, you have to beat the two top teams at home. You have to, because then you can afford to lose away. And then it comes down to the head-to-head. Because don't forget, in the Spanish league, the tiebreaker is head-to-head, not goal difference. And that is a really, really important factor. And drawing the home game against Madrid is a disaster because it means that we'll likely lose away. And yes, there's the 3-point swing in that they'll get 3 points off us. We didn't get any off them. Well, we got 1, but so did they. And then they'll have the head-to-head. So there's the points difference and the head-to-head. It's a double whammy, really. So the draw the home game really is looking like it could cost us. But in a really good place, though. Like, really, if we were to win the 19th game, which is against Barcelona, who haven't played yet, you would put us on course for you to double it on 86 points. So that's not a bad points total, and that is definitely winnable. That could win you the league in your first year in Spain if both the top teams have slightly off seasons, but you do need both of them then to have the off seasons at that stage, right? But it's looking okay. It's not looking too bad. I think the only thing that you would say is it's a shame that those draws and losses have come in the games that they have, but it really could have come crashing down. That game against Almeria that we had 2 players sent off on the back of the draw against Real Madrid. If we would have lost that game or drawn that game, I think it would have been over. But to win those other 2 games, just get us through to the end of the season. But what you can see here, like, that was Real Madrid's, December. That was their Christmas, leading up to Christmas break. They had a terrible run of it, as did Atletico Madrid's, who you can see here as well. They had too many draws, and they hardly scored any goals at this point. It was looking, it was looking okay. I was content that we were there. I was still just kicking myself that we kept dropping points, really. That because I felt like that we were there and thereabouts, and probably the top sides were having a slightly worse season than I thought they might. So I knew that the opportunity was there at this stage. We made our tactical changes. I was pretty happy with that. I still felt like we weren't really creating enough. And I felt like I think a few times I've had Vicente come on and he scored. Ingo Vicente here, who's a really good player, but is he a title-winning central midfield player? Is he good enough to go and start and coming off the bench and be the key player when you're playing Real Madrid away and Barcelona over 2 games? I felt like the answer to that was probably no. So we had to bring somebody in. And that led us into the January transfer window. So I looked long and hard at everybody that I could potentially buy for this transfer window. Because, like you see by the league table, we're close. We aren't really creating enough. We're not positive enough. We're not really creating enough. And I felt like that the tactic, any tweaks I was making to the tactic would take a massive drop off in other areas. And we identified the defensive issues, and I felt like that we had pretty much stopped that. Like, you see the defensive record we had in those last few games. Like, forget the Sevilla game, because that was with the injury to the goalkeeper and stuff. But look, 1-0 away to Sociedad, 1-1 to Real Madrid, then 2-0 and 3-0, even with 9 men. Like, defensively, I feel like we'd finally got there. Not just defensively in out of possession, but in transition, we were pretty good too. It was all down to now if we could create slightly more chances against tough sides away from him in particular. But so that led me to looking at the following. The first player that I signed was Alvaro Jallo. Jallo is Portuguese and he plays for Braga in Portugal, but he is crucially part Basque. So he comes in to the club and he is a genuine pacey winger. So I said about Inaki Williams being that only real profile of player that we had at the club. This is a second one. Now, Jallo is clearly going to be a winger, a wide player. He's never really going to be a striker. He's going to be a wide player. What that enables us to do, though, is I could play Jallo wide, and then I could play Inaki Williams down the middle. It allows me to have a genuine striker down the middle, because one thing that I was noticing as well is whenever we were doing well in games, getting good XG, my strikers weren't really scoring that much. John Bautista scored the first goal for the club and got some good goals early on, and then completely plateaued. Like, even if we look at the minutes per goal, the squads, if I was to just put the strikers in here, if we look at their minutes per goal, to be fair, Valabra's goals, minutes per goal was pretty good, but he got, he hardly played any minutes and he got those goals against the terrible sides. Because he wasn't really, only started 2 matches. I can't really use the 2 starts. It's not enough for a sample size. But to just take John Bautista was the starting striker for me. So every 215 minutes he was getting a goal. That's just not good enough. We're never going to get the title. We're definitely not going to get it this year. Even top 4, that's difficult to keep sustaining with your striker scoring, that lack of goals. And even Inaki Williams, when he was playing up front sometimes, at 177, again, it's just not really good enough in minutes per goal. But it's, substantially better than Bautista, So, yeah, that was what I was looking at as well, is maybe getting that there. But also by playing Inaki Williams at striker, having somebody then creative on the right and that can get the odd goal too was going to be beneficial. So yeah, Jallo came in for £18.5 million. Now, Aymar is the one. He is absolutely brilliant. Now, unfortunately, you're going to look at his 14 appearances off the bench with no starts and go, Jack, why the fuck did you spend £68 million on somebody who didn't even start? Right, okay. 2 things. 1, I couldn't get him all season. They would not let me have him at all. His previous club, I think it's Pamplona, right? That's Pamplona, Sociedad. So they wouldn't let me have him, and they put his release clause really high and offered me a new contract in the summer, and I couldn't get him, so I was gutted about that. I had to spend a lot of money on getting him, but the only reason he didn't start any matches was at the time, we were playing so well and we kept winning that I, right off the back of, a lot of good results, I felt like that I couldn't really start him unless I got an injury, and Sunset was playing too well, and I was playing Sunset as the 8, Sunset is playing here, Munain is playing here, and there wasn't really a way to get Aymar into the team unless there were injuries, and those 2 players did not get injured for the rest of the season, which was incredibly good. But Aymar's obviously class, and it also meant every time he's coming off the bench, not only is he as good as the players he's replacing, he's maybe even better in some ways, but until we started to really not create chances, etc., I felt like that I couldn't really introduce him, and I was getting enough in those immediate few games from Jallo going on the right and Inaki Williams going up front. That was enough to get us that extra, I don't know, this isn't an exact statistic, but something like an extra 0.3 XG per game, which led to, an extra few goals. It was enough for us to do, and I couldn't really get him into the team. But it also meant that when Vincente was going on, he was a substantial drop, and I felt like Aymar wasn't a drop at all. He's slightly different profile of player to Munain, but when he used to replace Munain, he was class. And I can't. What these stats aren't going to tell you. He had four goals in the league. So out of his 14 sub appearances, he scored 4 times. Obviously, being a midfield player, he created a lot. His dribbles per 90 were, you can't really see this, but his dribbles per 90 here in the league was 1.90. That's pretty good for a central midfield player. He was really, really, really effective when he came off the bench. So anytime we were behind in a game, he came on, he was excellent. And I can't tell you how many points that actually got us in the end. There isn't a stat that tracks that, but he won us so many points, and I knew that would happen, and that we needed somebody else to come in that was great. And also, if there's any injuries, to replace them. Obviously, I'm restricted to who I can sign. The reason I spent so much money on him is because he's the only midfield player that's this good that is Basque that doesn't play for me. And if I don't get him right now, he may go to an English team or somewhere else where I can't get him. So I had to spend the extra 20 million that I didn't really want to spend to make sure we got him and got him right now. And look at his wage. He's only on 24 grand a week. It's nothing, is it? And he's on a 4-year contract with a huge release clause. So I thought it was a really good signing, despite it being really expensive. And only time will tell if that was worth it. But it felt like I needed to do it to get him in. And that led us into the remaining games of the January window. So we played Granada and Rayo Vallecano, winning the first one, then we drew to Rayo Vallecano, and that was really hard to take and accept. It was really disappointing to draw 2-2, playing the way we had done before. I was pretty gutted, and obviously, as you can see here, we didn't actually have Inaki Williams, so I had to play John Bautista up front. You see 6.3, again, not playing well. Jallo actually scored on the right-hand side. Really disappointing for us, and we lost. Well, we didn't lose, but we dropped the points, which felt like a loss. And really disappointing from the team. Again, I was really gutted about that. Out of nowhere, really, playing pretty well. 2 cup games, and then we had to play Barcelona. And unfortunately, that's how it ended. It ended 3-2 to Barcelona. And, just getting so close away from home, playing so well, creating so many chances. Don't forget their 2.6 XG there. That includes their penalty that they got. And they missed. So, yeah. Pretty hard to take that. I felt like that we were the better side, played really well. And for this game here, you can see that I decided to go with Nico Williams as the striker because I was done with John Bautista. Jallo, again, getting himself involved in the goals on the right-hand side with an assist. And with Vicente starting in the middle and scoring in his game here. But that was gutting. It was hard to take. We got so close. And, yeah, I really thought we had a chance during this game. There were so many moments that I just thought that we were gonna do it. Fortunately, we couldn't. Unai Simon again having one of those games. Like, I know every time on camera we seem to find a goal where he's at fault, but off the games you're not seeing where we're just getting these routine wins, he's finally playing well, but prone to the odd mistake apparently. And then Villarreal happened. So we played Villarreal away, a tough game, and we drew 2-2, getting a red card after 8 minutes. Like, look at the XG. Like, we did so bloody well in this game to get a 2.85 XG with 10 players from the 8th minute and to restrict them, who are a good team, to 1.79. That is a fucking brilliant performance from the team. But it doesn't matter because we drew. We didn't get the win. It cost us points, and like that just feels like there's so many points dropped in a 2-month period there. Yeah, devastating really that it ended up being a draw. Like when we could have won the game despite being down to 10 for so long. Inaki Williams being back was good. He got himself 2 goals. And that's when I realised that, okay, it's another bloody game where we've dropped points. But when we have Jallo, Nico Williams and Inaki Williams all playing, we've got a chance to do that well with 10 players. Away to Villarreal in particular, I thought was really impressive. And Munain got himself a goal. And it's like if Sunset or Munain every now and again have a poor game, they'll just get subbed off for Aymar. And that's that's that elite level player coming in for them, right? Rather than it being like a drop. It's no longer a drop. And Munoz only played because Ruben Alves was missing for the game. Obviously, Ruben Alves is the starting player at this point at left back. So, yeah, disappointing 2-2. And that concluded the transfer window, right? So that was the last game before Aymar came in. That was before he actually joined us still. So that was the last game. And the league table then finished like this at the end of the January transfer window. So at the end of the January transfer window, the league table looked like this. Yes, Barcelona top with 51 points. Obviously, they've had a pretty good time of it recently because they were quite far behind not too long ago. They've won so many games in a row at this point. Real Madrid second on 50, Atletico Madrid on 46, ourselves on 45, and then Valencia way behind on 34, who had, I think, basically lost every game and drawn every game for the first however long it was in the season, and then won all their games in a row. Really weird season they had. And, yeah. But anyway, that's how things looked at this stage. I mean, 6 points by Barcelona, having, lost to them away isn't great. But the way that you look at that is, if you can just gain 3 points, if they can just lose to somebody they're not supposed to, and then we beat them at home, we can deal with that. The real issue is Real Madrid, because we've already drawn at home to them. We have to play them away. So we're 5 points behind Real Madrid, and we have to play them away. And it's very hard to even get a draw out of that. We're going to have to be lucky to get a draw, let alone win. So I think that that is the issue, isn't it, there? Is it becomes a huge problem of trying to gain the points on Real Madrid's and the head-to-head record as well. That could be a problem in itself. The Barcelona one, I'm happy. If we can get into a title race with Barcelona, then we're in business. If it's Real Madrid, we're in trouble. So that's how things basically looked. So here are your fixtures and results for the month of February, all the way up to the game. There's a crucial game against Atletico Madrid that we've got in the middle of March. So we're going to go all the way through to that game, and we'll show you the league table as it stands before and then after the game. Can you imagine the fans right now at this moment in time? They weren't expecting to get into the top 4, but they're there. They've just got close to the title a couple of times and just faded away. And every time we get a bit closer, they get that excitement of like, could it be this year? Could it? And then, we just, take it away by some stupid defeat or draw like Villarreal, getting a red card after 8 minutes. So it's an emotional roller coaster at this stage, I think, for the fans. But yeah, anyway, here is the month of February and halfway through up to March.
Hello, party people. This is Captain Kim speaking. Welcome aboard Benga Airways. After takeoff, we'll pump up the sound system because we're going to eat pizza.
Don't wanna be a bus driver all my life. I'm gonna pack my bags and leave this town. Grab a flight, fly away on Benga Airways. Fly me high, Ibiza sky. I look up at the sky and I see the clouds. I look down at the ground and I see the rain go down the drain. Fly away on Benga Airways. Fly me high, Ibiza sky. We're going to Ibiza. Back to the island. We're gonna have a party in the Mediterranean Sea. Far away from this big town and the rain. It's really very nice to be home again. Fly away on Benga Airways. Fly me high, Ibiza sky. We're going to Ibiza. Back to the island. We're gonna have a party in the Mediterranean Sea.
Thank you for flying Benga Airways. We are now approaching Ibiza Airport. As you can see, the sky is blue and the beach is waiting for you.
We're going to Ibiza. Back to the island. We're gonna have a party.
So after all those matches going into the last 11 games of the season, it looks pretty close, doesn't it? Only 3 points separating Barcelona in first, with Atletico Madrid in fourth, and there we are in third place. Real Madrid had an absolutely awful time. They think they had 4 draws and a win from those 5 games. So that really opened it up for us, to be honest. Because again, like I've said, if it's us and Barcelona, we feel like we've got a chance. However, I guess I see the last 10 games here as the final stretch, right, of the season. So this is our last game for the final stretch. We play Atletico Madrid here, and we get to play them at home. So of all the tough games left, this is one of them, but it's at home, and it's probably the last remaining home game that we could drop points to, except for Barcelona. And by the way, I might have forgotten to mention that after some manoeuvring around the fixtures, we now play Barcelona, the very last game of the season. We play Barcelona at home. So can you imagine the tension in that if it goes onto the wire? Yeah, so that's the stage as it currently is at this point of the season. So at this stage, things are looking quite good, right? Things are looking quite good in terms of, like, we're going to get top 4. It's going to be quite an entertaining run, although Valencia are starting to gain pretty rapidly from where they were to where they are now. And they beat us, of course. Looking back at that run that you would have maybe seen That is the run that you just saw there. We also lost in the Spanish Cup quarter-final to Mallorca, which was a bit disappointing, really. Fairly strong side, like not really completely weakened. Like maybe Vicente and Bautista played, but they played terribly and we lost. But yeah, I mean, the 1-0 defeat to Valencia, like I knew it was an opportunity. I knew it was a possibility that it could happen because they were playing pretty well. But I mean, we just didn't create anything. We created absolutely nothing. Possession and passes we had. Lack of creativity in the team. Munoz had to play because Arbez was out with injury. And yeah, really disappointing game for us. 1-0 defeat. They didn't create much, but neither did we. So pretty gutted about that. And that took us really a bit of a knock. I mean, if we'd have won that, we'd have been top of the league, right, at this point. So it really is pretty close. And then it was time to play Atletico Madrid, who are going to play their big 5 at the back formation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your live game featuring Athletic Bilbao and Atletico Madrid. Nice to be with you all here today for this fine, I guess, spring evening here. As Athletic Bilbao get an early chance here, goes to Torrezo, goes back to Moncayola, plays it across to Ruben Alves, who's going to take some touches back in the team today. Williams plays it through to Inaki Williams, and he scores. It's going to be checked for offside, though. And as with all things in this league, if it involves Athletic Bilbao, it goes against them because they don't like us. And I'm pretty sure we know this is going. It's going to be flagged for offside. Oblak's given it large, and it is given offside. Atletico Madrid on the attack here. They're going to cross the ball in. Unai Simon's going to collect it. Okay. He's now going to look to... Okay, what's he done here? Oh, dear. Unai Simon is having to come off injured. What is... Injured? Why is he injured? Yeah, unfortunately, that is going to be it for Unai Simon. He is going to come off injured. And that is going to be the end of his day. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm quite pleased that I didn't record myself live during this game because I was quite angry in this moment that this had happened. 4 minutes in, just again when we'd got ourselves in a situation where we could challenge the league title, yet again something happened that was going to be a detriment to us. Unai Simon has to come off, and that isn't the end of the problems. That seems to be some most unusual activity here. Athletic Bilbao, despite having 12 available subs on the bench to select a backup goalkeeper, yes, 12. The manager somehow has not selected one. So they have brought in Paredes to go in goal. And where does Paredes play, you may ask? Central defence. So yeah, it wasn't great. It was a bit of a mistake, to be honest. 6'1", goalkeeper rating of 3. Yeah. I was concerned at this point, but I was still confident that we wouldn't concede that many shots and that we could, if we can concede 1 goal, we'd be fine. Even conceding 2, I thought we'd score 3 and win the game. I wasn't too worried at this stage, but it's a problem. Well, you've got to think the manager must be feeling pretty silly right this second, having all those subs available and someone not selecting a single backup goalkeeper. Now he's gone off injured. And are they going to get punished for it? Oh, yes, they are. A absolute blast from distance, and a normal goalkeeper would have saved it. Maybe not Simon, to be fair. He has had some issues saving shots these days in big games. But there we are. I think we're back on the counter. There you go. It's going to be 1 back. Straight back-to-back goals. That is going to be 1-1. Atletico Madrid are going to try and hit Athletic Bilbao on the counter here. Axel Witsel is going to play it into Rodriguez. They're going to try and hit on the counter attack here. Leo goes inside, plays it through 2 players. Llorente, Morata. Very quick attack here from Atletico Madrid. Rodriguez to Paul into Griezmann. Griezmann into Molina. Molina goes through. He's going to surely swing this across. No, he's going to... Oh. Two-one. If I win it back, they clear it long. Williams flicks it on into the other Williams. Takes it past 1. Takes it past 2. He continues through. He shoots. And their goalkeeper's done a Paredes. And it is going to be 2-2. Cheers, Oblak. Thank you very much. Well, this is never going in. Oh, yes! Well, that made it 3-2. And late on the game here, we're just getting punished right now. Bilbao just getting punished right now at this stage. Goes into Koke. Koke's surely not going to shoot from there. Doesn't. Llorente gets it. Takes some touches. Goes inside. And he's going to play it. Oh, they just let him go. Just score. Why not? Have another one. 4-2. Tell you what, draws better than 4 is making it 5. Just have another one. That's it. You let him have it. Who was that? Munoz has been a fault for 2 of these goals, by the way. Llorente gets it, plays it inside. Memphis shoots, and it's pathetic again, isn't it, really? And that's how it finished. It finished 5-2. Yeah, I think the worst bit about it, right, is the fact that I could have done something special this year, and that was my mistake, really. That's my fault. I should have had someone on the bench. Like, there's just no excuse in Spain when you get so many subs. I really felt annoyed at myself and the fact that I didn't do this every game. It was just one of the games where I happened to just not put a goalkeeper on. It happened. So I was a bit annoyed at the fact that the game had done it to me. I was a bit annoyed at myself. I was all around just devastated, really, that we'd lost, a winnable game. Look at the XG. I mean, like, they never should have scored 5. Well, obviously not from that. And we all saw the goals, right? We all saw the goals. The less said about it, the better. Yeah, sad times. Following Bilbao's crushing 5-2 defeat to Atletico Madrid, it was followed up with a 3-1 win versus Las Palmas over in the Canary Islands, and it was a very ineffective performance in terms of creating chances. They did get the goals. Backup goalkeeper didn't cost us. That's good. And then finished off with a 3-2 win against Alaves at home, with the backup goalkeeper this time potentially costing us a goal, costing us the game. But really good performance, though. 79% possession, which was really interesting to see, and a really good performance from the boys. And it led us nicely into really the proper final sprint of the season. And the league table is as follows. The most frustrating thing there is obviously the fact that if I had have put a goalkeeper on the bloody bench, probably would have won the game, and we'd be bloody top of the league going into the last few games of the season here. So pretty gutted at this stage that yet again something had gone wrong when, like, this was winnable this year, right? I think that if I could have cut down on some mistakes, obviously me not, putting a goalkeeper on the bench, just the odd poor performance, like, it was definitely winnable. And the only caveat to this, obviously, we still have to play Real Madrid away. That's going to be a potentially really difficult game for us. And the only other really tough away game we had was Sevilla away, which came in the month of April. So April here, we've got 3 more league games in April, and then it's the final 5 games in May to conclude the season. So let's have a quick look at the fixtures in April and see how we got on and how that left us going into the final few games of the season. Honestly, I'm done. I'm done with them. All we needed was a bloody goal, 1-0 to beat Cadiz, and we would have done it. All we needed was 1, and we couldn't do it. Let's go on, go on, Aymar. You're the one. Aymar's the one. Come on! 1-0. Thank God. Thank God for Aymar. I tell you what, that game was bloody frustrating. We got absolutely destroyed defensively, which was making me annoyed, to be fair. And then we created a few chances and missed them. And I honestly, at this point, I was just absolutely gone. Head was gone. I was furious that we were going to drop point to Cadiz, because I was looking at the league table and I was thinking, we're probably going to fall just short, but it's going to be Real Madrid Barcelona. I didn't comprehend that Cadiz was going to be the issue. And they bloody weren't in the end, but I told you, Aymar, that was the most important thing he did all season, was that goal, because that saved us from, well, the PC was nearly out the window. That was the first thing. But apart from that, was, hugely important goal, that, and we moved on.
All I ever wanted was to see you smiling. I know that I love you, oh baby, why don't you see?
It's Sevilla away next, right? The next game to conclude April is Sevilla away. I knew this was going to be a difficult game, so this was really going to be the final hurdle before we played the two teams at the top. So this was an important one. Free kick, no danger here whatsoever. It's all right. Next highlight, please. Move on. Next highlight. Never in danger, this. Majibri, you're never going to score from there. Plays it short. Shoots. You're joking. You have got to be fucking joking. What? Penalty. I mean, Sergio Ramos, 2-0. And with that, the title race was gone. Devastated. I mean, the penalty was I was furious with that. I was absolutely furious with that. But, Sergio Ramos scored the penalty. Of course he did. And it was 2-1. And we took the defeat. And just at a crucial time yet again. Just every time. The story of the season is dangle the carrot, get close enough where you're telling me there's a chance. Gone. We'll do something just to fuck it up. Okay, it was my fault one time. I'll accept that. But, all of the time was the players' fault. Yeah, so, and that led to the league table looking like this. So that is your league table going into the final bit of the season. As you can see, it's quite close going into the final part. Everybody keeps dropping points, which I guess is the good thing. It makes it entertaining. So yeah, I mean, going into the final few games here, anybody can win it. Atletico Madrid can win it. Barcelona can win it. In terms of head-to-head, obviously we drew the home game against Real Madrid, and we lost away to Barcelona with having to play them both still in the last few games. Atletico Madrid are an issue now because we drew away and we lost 5-2 at home, so we don't have the head-to-head over Atletico Madrid at this stage. Like, we're in trouble if they're the ones that somehow get there. Valencia, still way back, they're not an issue, but it's really a top 4 race at this point. It's looking very, very close going into the final few games of the season. Looking through our remaining fixtures here, the remaining fixtures that we have are Real Sociedad at home, Real Madrid away, Almeria at home, Celta Vigo away, that's not been an easy game, then Barcelona at home. That's our remaining games. Real Madrid still had to play Atletico Madrid away. That was our only chance that they could drop points. And then Barcelona had to play, obviously, us. They had to play Valencia at home, but apart from that, they had a pretty easy ride to it as well. So it really didn't, nobody looked good on paper to win it. None of us had a great run. I guess Barcelona having relatively only one tough game, that being us. So we really had to win every game to beat them out to the title. But anyway, that's how it looked. And that put us through to the final stretch of the season. Now, next up was Real Madrid. And obviously playing them away in FM is always going to be difficult when you're not Barcelona, basically. And as you can see from the league table, looking at that, really anything other than a win isn't going to get us the title. A draw keeps us in it. What a draw would do, if we were able to get a draw, is it might keep us neutral on the head-to-head against Real Madrid, which then would bring it down to goal difference, and it would just keep us in the mix, wouldn't it, going into the game against Barcelona. So a draw would do us a favour as well, but it would need to be just an absolutely unbelievable effort from the team to try and compete, and all you need is a bit of magic from Vinicius or from Bellingham, and that's it, right? It's over. And having so much, not just quality, but pace in the team as well against our team is always going to be an issue. So yeah, here we go. It's our big game away from home against Real Madrid.
I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming, but there's a voice inside my head saying you'll never reach it.
And there you have it, finished 0-0 in the end. We've got the big draw against Real Madrid. It was, it was just an absolute classic masterclass for defending. As you can see, the only real highlights in the game were, a deflected free kick that hit a post, which was close, and then the Unai Simon typical big match mistake that came. Luckily, they didn't score from it. But generally, we controlled to only restrict them to only 0.93 XG at home. I thought was a really good effort from the boys. We didn't create much ourselves, but with Athletic Bilbao in our first season, we're not expected to really. The team played really, really well. Having the first team out, whenever this is the team that played, we could beat anybody, compete against anybody. The problem was keeping this team available, which was difficult through suspensions as well as injuries. But the team played really, really, really well again. And Unai Simon did get a good match rating, despite the fact that, it was a bit of a disgrace, that mistake. But we escaped. And we moved on. And as you can see, after that result, that actually put us in a better position because Barcelona lost and Atletico Madrid drew. And Barcelona lost to Valencia at home. Like, absolutely incredible. No way did I think this was going to happen. They lost to Valencia at home. And Fran Perez, the absolute legend, managed to get the goal. And they didn't do that great either. They didn't play great at all. And they lost at home to Valencia. Valencia had a really good end to the season, like I mentioned before. So, yeah, that really puts the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit, and it put us in a pretty good position to challenge the title still. Like, it's still anybody's. The problem is I don't want us to have to need to win that final game against Barcelona. But all of a sudden, looking at the fixtures we got left, at this stage, we have Almeria and Celta Vigo now back-to-back in our games. And then it's Barcelona last game of the season. So, let's see how those two games went, and let's circle back together right before the Barcelona game. Now, I know you're thinking, Jack, that table's wrong. No, hang on. The reason I've not changed it yet is Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid were scheduled to play each other next. So, depending on the result of that game, could mean that we go into the final 2 games of the season, top of the league. Barcelona lost away to Osasuna, which meant it all came down to the Madrid derby. Now, we finally got ourselves in with a chance to win the league in our first season. We now play Celta Vigo away, followed by Barcelona at home. 2 tough games, might I add. So we go into this game knowing that if we win it, we go into the last game with it in our hands, in our destiny. It's 1 game away from home. We've not been great away from home, but surely we've got a chance, is what I'm thinking here. No injuries, everybody's fit to play. Come on, Athletic Bilbao. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. At this point, I really thought we had a chance. You know, I really did start to think that maybe we've got a chance, just because the other side had like drop points when we needed them to, so it was going to be really close. I still felt like it was a big ask to make. For us to need to beat Barcelona, it's still going to be a big ask, and this was always going to be a tough game as well. So, but at this point, it's probably the most positive I've ever been. And then what happens here? Hewitt gives it away. The very first highlight of the game, they're going through, they play it across goal. And it's 1-0 to Celta Vigo.
Turn it inside out so I can see the part of you that's drifting over me. And when I wake, you're never there. And when I sleep, you're everywhere. You're everywhere. Just tell me how I got this far. Tell me why you're here and who you are. 'Cause every time I look, you're never there. And every time I sleep, you're always there. 'Cause you're everywhere to me. And when I close my eyes, it's you I see. You're everything I know that makes me believe I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I recognize the way you make me feel. It's hard to think that you might not be real. I sense it now, the water's getting deep. I try to wash the pain away from me.
Oh, and it's absolutely calamitous. Round of applause for Hugo. Hugo absolutely wanted Bilbao to win the league. He says, none of this Barcelona, none of this Real Madrid nonsense. Have some of that, lads. Have the win. 4-1 to Bilbao. Come on, boys. And that is how it finished. It finished 4-1 to Athletic Bilbao. And we absolutely dominated them. 65% possession, 2.7 XG to their 0.27. We did get 2 penalties. Let's not worry about that, though. I mean, to be fair, though, 2 penalties and an own goal. We didn't really create a great deal amount, I guess. But we did enough to win the game. We did enough to win the game, and we won the game 4-1, which, I mean, all that meant was, going into the last game, we had a chance. Unless everybody lost, of course, and we might have won it already. Atletico Madrid won their game 2-1 away to Almeria. Real Madrid won their game 5-0, and Barcelona won their game 3-1 against Real Betis. So everybody won, and we move on to the final game of the season. By the way, yes, it is a new recording on a new day. I wanted to make sure that I could do all this properly. It was getting quite late last night. I was recording it. This video is obviously quite different to how the other ones are put together. So this one took a bit longer to sort of go through. So anyway, here we are then. It's the last game of the season. If we win the title. If we draw, it goes down to the results and hoping they go our way, which they probably won't. So we do have to win. It is at home, so I think that always gives you a chance on FM, right? You always feel like you've got a chance for the home side. And if I could buy my own players and it was like a normal save, I would have thought I had a chance here against Barca. But the fact that I'm restricted to the players that I've sort of got here, you're just never quite sure, because you sort of because you're doing so well, right, with these players, and you can't really control, obviously to a point you control the players you bring in, but really you're sort of stuck with the players that are given in the game. I think what it does is you sort of like forget when your team's doing well just how far off you are from your Real Madrids, from your Barcelonas in terms of player quality, and in particular in things like having like basically wide players. Like if you're going to use wingers and don't have any pace, they can be structurally quite poor, and yet they can get away with it if they've got really quick defenders like it in transition and stuff, right? And because all their players, especially Real Madrid, happen to be just quick everywhere. So it just makes it that extra bit difficult. Getting a cheap goal against them on the counter is more difficult. Do you know what I mean? So that's just the extra difficulty that you have with the team. You sort of forget that although you're doing well and competing on paper, you're actually quite far off. So there was that. But anyway, let's set the scene. Here. So Athletic Club, they hire a new manager. Comes in, bit of a topsy-turvy start, some good results, some poor, and you sort of like somehow just about keeping the title race all the way through, and you get to the final day of the season. Now, the people of Bilbao haven't seen their team win the title since the mid-80s, and with their Basque only policy and the way football has gone, the money that's been gone into the sport, they probably thought they'd never see this day. So you see what they're thinking here. This is the moment. This is the chance. It's a one-off game at home to win the title. All we have to do is win the game. You can imagine the stadium obviously would be full, but the whole surrounding area of the stadium, all of the people of Bilbao coming to the stadium, go around the families' houses to watch the game. The families are all together, hoping for the biggest night of their lives and to change the course of history for the people of Bilbao. You can imagine the nerves thinking that they never have this opportunity, but it's finally there. And it's just a one-off game. And it's against a great opponent, but it's a one-off game. Anything can happen. And if you lose, although it shouldn't feel like a massive, negative and really deflating, it's just, nature, right? It doesn't matter how much you overachieve. If you lose that big final game, it's always going to feel a bit deflating. Even if it's the most ridiculous of seasons, it's hard to not feel that way. It's really hard to still stay positive, even when it was an incredible season. So it all came down to this. It was a one-off game. We had Barcelona, and everybody was fit. This is the team that you can see here is the team that played. So that was the team that I selected. I think Alves was suspended. He was missing for this game. That's why he's not in. So that was going to be the team. The people of Bilbao were set, ready for it. Time stood still. And this is how it went. First highlight of the game, Bilbao get it. They play it into Moncola. Sansa plays into the ball. Penalty referee, it's got to be a penalty. He's taken it out. Araujo's gone in there and absolutely done Williams. But it's got to be a penalty referee. I cannot wait to see us hopefully score the penalty. Who's going to take it? What? I mean, let's watch this together again here. Let's just zoom right in. So we're watching here, right? Watching here. I mean, it's a disgrace. Not only that, but he's actually injured as well. Look at him. He's injured. Physio's coming on. 1-0 to the referee. That's what I'm going to say. Moncola. Back into Munoz again. Moncola. Some patient play. Same exact scenario from the penalty shout earlier on. Moncola gets it, plays it into Vivian. Some good patient build-up play. We've got our two number 10s right next to the striker there. Could we have got through there? Maybe a bit braver the passing. That's where you want to. That's why the tactics have to be a little more direct. Is because we pass at those opportunities too much even now. And oh my god, they've turned it over. Gavi goes through Rafinha. Rafinha's going through. He's going to play it through. Balde goes through. And it's offside. Not that we're celebrating that. We're neutral here on commentary today. Munoz is going to take this. He's going to play it short. This corner routine doesn't do as well as I would like, to be honest with you. It always looks good, but it doesn't quite get the goals that I'd like to see. Comes out Jallo hits it over the bar in the second half. We're going to play it short, so we're going to try and build an attack. It's still 0-0 at half-time. So at this stage, I'm feeling quite nervous because I'm starting to realise we've got a chance. What we just can't afford to do is concede the first goal. Because if we can score the first goal, I think we've got a really good chance. So I feel like if we can score first, we can go ahead and stay ahead and hit them on the counter for a second goal. That's the theory. Unai Simon plays an absolutely horrendous ball It goes wide to Balde. He's going to go wide. He's going to cross this. He's taking a deflection. Lewandowski! Barcelona take the lead in Bilbao. 1-0. Bilbao now need 2 goals to try and win the title. I mean, it would have been bad enough to get 1. They now need 2 goals to rescue it for the people of Bilbao. You can imagine now the emotion in the stadium just being zapped out. We need an Aguero moment here for ourselves. Goes wide to Jello. Jello goes through. Villarreal goes through and he scores! And it's the first time he scored all bloody season. He's been absolutely... Well, I don't say the word useless. He's not been great, I've got to be honest with you. And he scored, it makes it 1-1 straight away. We're back. Honestly, when I put him on Pinaki Williams, he was probably the one player that I had absolutely zero faith would actually score. He just wasn't one of those players that you felt like wasn't playing up to the attributes. Maybe it was the tactic. The tactic did restrict the strikers a little bit, but that was a surprise, him actually scoring. Sorry to interrupt the flow of the live game here, but just thought I'd tell you that I couldn't believe what has happened. I couldn't believe what had happened there when that happened. So yeah, 1-1. Let's get back to the game. Barcelona, the highlight. Pedri, Cancelo, De Jong. De Jong gets it. Takes some touches. Pedri, you can see the quality we're up against here. Pedri, they've got multiple players ahead of the ball here. He's giving it up. Vesga does it yet again. Vesga is the one. He just gets in. He makes tackles. And he gets involved in the final third a lot as well. I don't really understand why he's so good, but he is. Jallo goes all the way through. Sunset! Keeper saves it. It's cleared away. Oh, you don't believe it. Jeff, it's unbelievable. 61 minutes here. Hugo into Arezzo. Arezzo plays it into Jallo. Jallo into Aymar. Aymar, he could be the one. He could be the one. Plays it across goal. Goes wide. Headed away. No, Rafinha's going to get to this, and it's going to be counted on by Barcelona. They're going to go away with it. And they continue Lewandowski. Lewandowski into Balde. Arezzo, Jallo, Cancelo to Aymar. Aymar, he could be the one. He could be the one. The £60 million player, Vesga. Munain, Captain Munain, takes touch. Vesga clips one into Jallo. Jallo goes wide, plays across. Aymar, it's a goal for Bilbao. The unbelievable scenes here. Absolutely unbelievable. It is now 2-1. All they need to do is hold out and do not concede a goal for the next 30 minutes, and the title will be going to Athletic Club in Bilbao. Vivian puts the business on Lewandowski. Have some of that, son. Get up. Get on with it. Oh, don't you dare give that away. There we go. Baraja into Sunset. The tension is crazy here. 80 minutes on the clock. Danny Vivian into Simon. Going to clip this wide. Hugo. Hugo gets it. Hugo. Paredes, who's been brought on for... I mean, don't forget he was goalkeeper at one point, Paredes. He was a goalkeeper a few games ago that nearly cost us the title, which was, you know, obviously not my fault. Baraja goes wide, cuts inside. Sante goes through. Sante's through to finish it off.
Aguero! I swear you'll never see anything like this.
Absolutely incredible.
So watch it. Drink it in.
Beers being chucked everywhere. Everybody's climbing on each other. Barcelona now need to score 2 goals to take the title away from Bilbao. Surely that isn't going to happen. But it could. Starting with the free kick. Gundogan going to take it. No danger. Simon's got that. He makes a lot of mistakes, but not today. Sunset. 90th minute. It's got to be over. They're ready to celebrate. And there it is. And there it is. The final whistle for Bilbao. They are the champions of the Spanish League. Unfortunately, no title lifting ceremony to show you, because in fact, did I record that? In fact, I might have recorded this, you know. 1 second.
Bad mistakes. I've made a few. I've had my shells and kicks in my face, but I've come through. I need to go on. We are the champions, my friends, and we'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions of the world.
And yeah, this was the final moment. This has obviously been recorded before. I recorded it at the time, just did a screen recording. And there it is. There's our title lifting ceremony. Honestly, in this moment, I couldn't believe what had happened. I couldn't believe that we'd done it. I couldn't believe that we'd done it in the way that title race kept happening. We'd dropped points so many times in so many crucial matches. But do you know what? Not even crucial matches. It were just so many crucial moments where, you know, finally Barcelona and Real Madrid would drop points, it would feel like, and then we would drop points immediately afterwards. And ready, ooh, hey, there you go. And there it is. Athletic Bilbao lift the trophy. I mean, it was just, honestly, I think I celebrated this one probably one of the most I've celebrated a save in a long time. When we won the title, it was just absolutely brilliant to see the boys win it on a relatively low points total. But you know, who cares in this sort of moment, right? You win it, and that was the most important thing. So that was your final league table. Athletic Club on 82 points, Atletico Madrid on 81, Real Madrid on 81, Barcelona on 74. If we'd have drawn that game, we would have finished third, obviously, behind both the Madrid teams. Atletico Madrid would have won it, which is quite interesting. Some of the team stats, the average possession was 65%, which was pretty good. Yellow cards at the top, love that. Red cards, I can't believe we didn't win that really on red cards. I mean, finish first, I guess, is the way to put that. I mean, expected goal underperformance, I thought we'd be higher than that because I felt like we missed quite a few chances, but we're actually 14th. Expected goals for, we were second on that. Non-penalty XG was second as well. I mean, look, despite the fact it tried to give Real Madrid the win with 12 penalties and Barcelona with 10, we had 8 to be fair, which is quite a good amount. Goals from corners, we had 5 actually. Chances created, we were second. You can see there's quite a substantial gap between us and Real Madrid in terms of the attacking stats. Apart from the most important one, which is, wins. That's the most important one. That's the most important stat, not necessarily attacking one. Final third passes, 4 per game. We probably, stats-wise, finished as a top 4 team, didn't we? That's probably what we were, very close, but second or third. We probably did very, very well to win it. Goals conceded from corners. We conceded 6, only scored 5. So we were -1 on corners this year, which I'm sure that if many of you have got good corner routines, you could have probably have done, probably better than that. OBPDA, we were first, which is good to see as well. I mean, the net transfer spend is quite high because we didn't sell anybody and we did buy IMAF got a lot of money. But the team salary was 7th, so we were below Real Madrid Barcelona, of course, Atletico Madrid, Real Sociedad, our local rivals. Just look at the gap, look at the jump between these teams and the rest. Villarreal. So our team salary was only £39.4 million for the year. That's actually incredible, isn't it? And we finished even below Sevilla in that. That's just brilliant to put us into context how good that really was. So yeah, that was an incredible end to the season. And what I liked about it is normally in FM when you have a season like that with the team and you really overachieve and do well, you expect to just kick on and always be there, right? Because you can, if you're from this point, you could just keep buying good players. Even if you don't win it the next season, you're going to be there or thereabouts, aren't you? For the rest of the time of the save, you would think. But that wasn't the case with us, necessarily, right? We're a good place now, but we can't really improve the team that much. If I even just show you the players that we could get from this moment, this is saved exactly right after the game. Immediately the game we've just watched together there. It says the best player I could get is Laporte, but Laporte's on 400 grand a week, so that's just never going to happen, right? I don't need Kepa because I've got a good goalkeeper anyway. So, who's the next best player on that list? Probably is Ivan Martin, who I do rate. But, would he get into Barcelona's team on this? No, probably not. They wouldn't select him, I don't think. Gundogan and Pedri and Gavi would all get in ahead of him. But he's a good player. Benyat. Now, I'll go into this later. Benyat I'd already identified here to play as a striker. And you're going to say, what are you doing fucking playing as a striker? The thing was, I already had players to play midfield. Right? I already had Moncayola. What I didn't have was a striker. And he actually had pretty good attributes for a striker. Forget the fact he is good defensively too, but he could play as a striker. 14 finishing, 12 composure, and he's got 16 acceleration. He's actually quite a good striker. For us. And don't think, I can't go and buy anybody. This is what I'm sort of stuck with, right? You're going to have to play somebody there out of position. So I wanted to really try and get Benyat to either play, yes, as a pivot, but also as a striker, depending on if Inaki Williams want to play him down the middle or play him wide. Yeah, so that was the kind of decision I was making. But those two would have come in. And I guess I could show I'm showing you the players, but my shortlist, I've already sort of done this at this point, right? Identified who I want. If I look at my shortlist, this is the level of player that I'm looking to sign. John Pacheco's pretty good. And Quado was there. So yeah, that was the list. That was my shortlist of players that I was trying to bring in, right? That was Roberto Lopez. This is what I was looking at for bringing in players. That was the best case scenario for me. So yes, Bilbao win first division title. Yeah, it was honestly amazing to see that. And by the way, I'm not going to do every season like this exact format. I wanted to do it this way for this one because it was quite a magical season, and I sort of wanted you to see the journey of if I just showed you that I won at the end of the year, you wouldn't have got the story of like how much we fucked up and how much things didn't go right in certain moments for us to come out to the end. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is one early, I won't call it spoiler, but something just for the future. Not every season that I have in the save is a good season. Like, it's not. This season is a brilliant start, but like, you're not going to see me go and now just, win everything every year. It doesn't happen. It's a journey. There are some good seasons and some that aren't. And I have to change the tactic at times. And I think the journey of it is quite good, interesting. You'll see moments where, like, I've sort of pigeonholed myself into certain things, and I won't go too much into it because I don't want to ruin it too much. But yeah, basically my point is that this isn't every season. This was an incredible start to the save, and yeah, and that's what it was. Though, it was just a start, and it was always going to be difficult to sustain it and maintain it. And but there were lots of other trophies to go for. The Bar Lift First Division on the final day, yes, it was brilliant. I really thought when the Lewandowski goal went in and we'd had that penalty denied, yeah, I was absolutely devastated and furious at the same time. But I was more devastated. And I think scoring almost immediately afterwards, I think it was the very next highlight after that goal was that one. So that was good. And then Sanzet doing what he does best, getting important goals. But Aymar got the winner, didn't he? So I said he could be the one. He was the one. Like every goal he scored, I think won us points. That's what I was saying earlier on. Like he only scored 4 goals in the 14 sub appearances, but I think every single one of them was winning goals, or at least most of them were. So even if 3 of them were, that's potentially, well, it depends if we were drawing. But if we were drawing, then we won. That was 2 extra points each time, right? So that's potentially 6 points that he's got us there. We won it by 1. So there you go. That put us on 9 league titles, which was great. Obviously, the fans were loving it. Yeah, 33-1 we were. 33-1 to win the title. First time since 1984 we won the title. Absolutely brilliant. But obviously happy. You're welcome, board. You're very welcome. Grand champions. And that was, pretty much it. So in terms of like going into the next season, what the plans were, the tactic was just going to stay the same. I had no danger. I had no worries about changing that. Youth intake-wise, I guess we could look at that quickly. I'll just flick through these. So we had a few players coming through. It wasn't the best intake, really. I'm just going to flick through these here. I have a bit of hope for Gorka, but, we'll see. As you can see, it wasn't the best intake. I feel like that he could get good if he got quick, but we'll have to see. Munoz, I was pretty interested in. Roberto Munoz, left-footed central field player. I was hoping that he could play as that sort of Mazzal on the left. That's his sort of going to position. That's going to be his position. Good determination as well, which is one of the reasons I like having the high determination coaches. Miguel Perez looks pretty good. Joseba Martin is another one I think could be world class. Like being only 15 at this point, but what's he going to be for us? Is he going to be a central field player? Is he going to be a pivot player? Is he going to be a left back? He could be any of those things really at this stage. Again, good determination shown by him, which is good to see. And then roll down there as well at fullback. So that was your intake. In terms of like other players that were out on loan, you have Unai Venkador. Not sure how you pronounce his name, but he used to be really good in FM, but he's not as good at the moment. But he's a player that comes back off loan. He could be quite good. Nico Serrano's out on loan. He could be good. Unai Nunez will come in and be a player next year. May not start, but he'll be at least the backup, right? A good backup centre-back. Couple of good youngsters in here too that are already at the club, which I've got big hopes for. In the B team, Aymar Vikandi, I just don't see him really becoming good enough. I don't really see him doing it, but he could be. He's a good young player. I just think he's going to be good enough if we're going to be a title challenging side. And apart from that, there's not really too much in here, to be honest with you. There isn't a lot going on. That's pretty much it. Pretty much bang up to date. There wasn't too much youth players to look at from the starting team. All of the youth players that I'll be focusing on throughout the series will be new gens. Some of them you've seen there. Some of them we're going to sign as well. So what I'll do is at the end of every season, I'll show you the intake then, and I'll talk about like my plans for next season, like who I had shortlisted. I've already shortlisted the players before this. So what I've done is I've saved a brand new save file at the end of every season, every single one. And by that point, I've already shortlisted the players that I'm going to sign and got the youngsters, etc. Right. So you're already going to see my plans for the following season at the end of every season, which works out good for the series. And yeah, for the future ones, I will likely show you the league table as we start. So I won't have to like keep the league table hidden from you the whole way through. I can show you it and show you what we did and talk about it in retrospect a little more, go into more detail about the tactics and the thoughts and what went wrong, and show you some clips from the games, how the team was playing, how certain players were playing, and that kind of stuff, right? I went on quite a big tactical journey throughout the series to go from what we have now to what we end up with, which is starting off, well, we start off with this. We've already moved over to this. and we're going to continue to move throughout the series. And but while keeping the philosophy, which is this bit here, pretty similar, I would say. This would largely stay quite similar, but it's this that's going to start to change quite a bit to accommodate the players that we have and compete against a pretty strong couple of opponents there. So going into next season, I had a couple of thoughts. I was thinking, right, we could improve by like 5 points, get around 87, and still not win the league next year, like, because we've got quite a low points total. So my thought wasn't just we need to win the league next year. It was, if we're not going to win the league, can we at least make sure we've beaten our points total to make sure we're still improving? And then when Real Madrid Barcelona have an off-season again, then we can look to try and win it again. That was my first thought, as well as combining it with the Champions League for the first time, which was going to be good financially for the club, and just keep making sure that, the finances didn't look great here. But the way it works in Spain is you get a lot of money in one go, rather than it being spread throughout. So that will be gone in a second, actually, in a couple of weeks here. But the important thing here was to keep upgrading the facilities, keep the facilities upgraded, make sure I'm staying on top of the staff, making sure the staff are as good as they can be, and hoovering up any good young players that are Basque. That was really the policy. Next year was just going to be like a tick over season of like, we're probably going to do slightly better than this season in terms of points. We're probably going to fall short of the title. This is my thought process as of right now, the day of the Barcelona game. So can we just improve on this season, points total wise? And see how close we can go again, and see how close we can go in both the Champions League and really the Spanish Cup was then a big target. It was like, okay, if we fall short of the league, we can really focus on the Spanish Cup, rotate players in the league to support the Spanish Cup push. And that was the thought process. I felt pretty good going into it. The team was looking pretty good. There were some players there that we used, some that we didn't use as much. And I was quite excited going into the next season. We're in a good position. Don't think there's too much else to show you, really. I'll show you some of the awards in the end of season review. So, Saulath wins Player of the Year. Rodrigo came second. Inaki Williams came third, which was good. I was named Manager of the Year. There you go. Which, I mean, you've got to really, haven't you? There couldn't be anybody else to win that. Team of the season, we managed to get 3 players in there. We've got Nico Williams on the left, apparently. Vivian and Hugo got in there as well at centre-back. Those were our end-of-season stats there. So, pretty good. Expected goals against per game, and we gave up quite a few chances, right? That was one thing there, which is true. That happened quite a bit early on in the season too. And the end-of-season review. So, let's see. The new arrivals. So, they rated Jallo. They rated Moncayola, Vicente, Guibilon. We spent a lot of money really here. They were happy with Aymar, but I mean, come on, he won us the title. Actually, I'm gonna get out of the way here. But yeah, like, he won us the title here. Like, why are they complaining about that? Like, even if he did nothing but that one goal, that would have been fine. So there you go. Ruben Alves was definitely great. He was a great signing. 700 grand. He was the best, probably the best one. I thought he was amazing. Season results: we got knocked out in the quarterfinals by Mallorca, but the Spanish first division, there it is. Winners in the league. Top goal score was only 15 goals. I don't think I can remember winning a league title in FM with my top goal score being so low on goals scored, but that's what happened. And we weren't good defensively either, really, so it's quite a miracle that we won it. Match to remember, 4-0. Goal of the season was Moonine against Getafe, apparently, and then a big 7-0 win in the Cup. Finances, I mean, you can't really tell that to the next season, so we'll just skip that. But interesting, the goalkeepers, one of the highest players sold, and a player that we signed in January. So we did do some stuff for the club financially there. That was our best 11, apparently. I guess it was. I mean, Munoz I would have taken out for Alves, really. But apart from that looks pretty good to me. Accolades. So the fans player of the season was Inaki Williams. Young player of the season was Chalo. 24 years of young player of the year. I don't know if we can give that to him. But there we are. Signing of the season was Aymar. So the board thought it was a C, but the club awards have given him a signing of the season. So, like, to have an average rating of 7, having pretty much all of your appearances as a sub, that's actually impressive. Goal of the season, Munain. Top goal scorer, we've already seen that. Top assists was Nico Williams. Highest average rating was Inaki Williams. Most passes completed per 90 was centre-back Danny Vivian with 85 passes completed per 90. Interesting. Some records there too. 10 yellow cards, no red cards. Well done, Hugo. Good lad. History in the making. Yep, absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. Timeline there. I mean, record breakers. We broke the club record of 72 points in the top division. So there you are. And there you are. Division winners. And that was it. So that will conclude our first season in the documentary. It was a magical season, really. I was really interested to see how this would go going forwards. And I knew it was going to be so challenging. And that's what excited me, knowing that I had to stick with these same players. And I had to find a tactical solution if things were to go wrong. But the only concern I had right now was, would I get enough good wingers to still be able to play a system with wingers like this? Like Nico Williams and Jallo were great. Would they be good enough long term? And then, to be honest, would I get somebody else to replace them? Because, like, Barger here, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, he came on and did pretty good, but like, he's not the best. Like, so it was, yeah. There were lots of thoughts going through. My only concern early on was I need another winger, really. But or I could at least get Benyat as a striker, like I showed before, the move in Aki Williams as a winger. Then it gives me 3 on the wing, doesn't it? But yeah, apart from that, I was just really pleased with what happened and looking forward to the next season. So that concludes season 1. Next episode will be season 2, and you're just about to be introduced to the absolute villain of the series. But first, it's time to celebrate. Honestly, one unbelievable season, one unbelievable celebration. It was amazing. And to top it all off, both Real Madrid and Barcelona sacked their managers, which was just absolutely fantastic. I'll tell you what, let's go and see who Barcelona have hired. Let's go and see who they've hired to challenge us for the title. Let's have a look. Barcelona have hired Marco Rose. Unlike the Titanic, you're not going to be the one that wins this one. Jack is going to be the one that survives. You're going to be the one that sinks to the bottom of the ocean. That's how it's going to go. That is how it's going to go for the rest of time. Or is it? Like, I just don't understand what's going wrong with the team at the times. Like, it's just so frustrating. And freaking Marco Rose is just getting win after win after win. Are they ever going to lose? It's actually starting to worry me how badly they're beating AI teams. If this carries on and they get better players, we're in trouble. We're in deep trouble.